I have never had a greater sense of urgency. Everywhere I look, massive draconian censorship is taking place. Just look at this on my Twitter feed. Mainstream news, ladies and gentlemen. Teacher punished, taught kids to think about free speech. David Knight broke that down. It's everywhere. Then I've got mainstream news headlines here. It's time to regulate the internet and shut down free speech. The Atlantic. It just gets crazier. Look at this. Daily Caller. It's a footnote in the Washington Post. The top investigator into the Seth Rich murder was shot twice in the back. He got away with his dachshund badger hound in his arms, and then the person began trying to run him over, a Marine with the Department of Energy. Yeah, when the hitman comes, that's what they are. And so it's just next level. I don't want to get this individual on. He's been the prominent lawyer putting out the rewards, investigating, doing all this. Back when the family wanted that, it's still an unsolved murder. And evidence mounts that there were laptops and the DNC and cover-ups and all this stuff going on. The family suing Fox News for questioning. It's called Alex Jones, Fox News sued for conspiracy theories. New York Daily News. Translate that, asking questions. Why, Jones will probably think it's a big deal this lawyer got shot twice in the back. He thought he was at a document pickup. And when he went under the orange cone to get the documents, he got shot twice in the back. He ran with his dog in his arms, and the feller coming after him, who's been arrested, didn't stop, started running over him, but he jumped between cars after being rammed twice and lived. Tough cookie. The Daily Caller. It's also posted on InfoWars. Former Marine charged in shooting, hit and run of controversial Seth Rich investigator. I love how if you investigate, you're controversial. I guess the Daily Caller wants to say that so they don't get sued. Now investigating, see, is controversial. Yeah, it's controversial. He got shot twice in the back and survived by a Marine with the Department of Energy. Sure. I told everybody when the hitmen come, they're sheep-dipped veterans inside government agencies. That's the hitmen in this country. It's no big deal. He just shot him twice in the back and tried to run over him twice. No big deal. Move along. Everything's fine. Nothing's going on with Seth Rich's death either. He only got shot a couple times in the back, too. Don't question it. I will sue you. Thousands of papers celebrating Fox. Fox is getting punished. Sean Hannity's getting punished. Alex Jones is getting punished. So WikiLeaks says Seth Rich was probably their source, but they won't release it. So he was mad about him stealing the nomination from Bernie. So his family was suspicious when he first got killed. It's an open murder investigation, and news organizations that investigate it get sued, and people that go to parking garages to get documents get shot twice in the back. But it's no big deal. Let's move along now, shouldn't we? I agree. I think no one should investigate Seth Rich. Well, I mean, it is an open murder, but I want to sound fair and balanced. It's very kooky to investigate a high-level DNC staffer who reportedly was being investigated for being one of the main leakers, getting shot in the back multiple times in broad daylight and nothing happens. Doherty worked for Berkman on the Rich investigation. Isn't that interesting? A helper inside helping on the investigation. But there's nothing going on here. Top Seth Rich investigator, shot twice in the back, like Seth Rich. Do not investigate. I agree with CNN. There's nothing suspicious, nothing. I'm mainstream now. Do not investigate. Nothing going on. We've got a unbelievably jam-packed transmission today. Austin bombing suspect Mark Anthony Condit used exotic batteries and explosives, sources say. And he reportedly worked for a local computer company. We now have the identity of the individuals. Fears of more explosives remain after Austin bombing suspect blows himself up. Now, there's only been one photo circulated in the media. It's the same photo of the 23-year-old that is in our article by Merkel Phelan on Infowars.com. Identity of Austin bombing suspect revealed. But our intrepid team was able to get an exclusive photo that no one else has. I've sent it out on Twitter of this gentleman, the suspect, probably is the bomber, blew himself up reportedly, with his family. We have blurred out his sisters and his parents. I also have law enforcement sources that realize that out in the countryside outside Austin, they use the same shooting range as his sister, and that was on her Facebook as well until that was taken down. So exclusive photo of the individual at Infowars.com. We just tweeted it out at Real Alex Jones on Twitter as well. We also have exclusive footage just minutes after the bomb was detonated while police were shooting into the vehicle, reportedly, at least one officer shot out of one of our crew members' apartment windows. So that is how close all of this is here in Austin, Texas. And that is from about 150 yards there with the bomb squad and the ambulances and the police and part of the highway shut down. Again, if you're a radio listener, you obviously can't see this. It's important for us to always add, we are a radio-based /TV transmission. I was the first person in talk radio to not just have a document cam or just have a webcam, but to actually start doing a full video shoot so I could show everybody what I was saying. Because I would say, I've got a picture of UN signs put up at the national parks, and under the treaty it says the UN then controls the administration of the parks and 100-mile buffer zones in all areas. Well, people wouldn't believe me. So I started in about 1997 live streaming sometimes, but only to show certain documents because it was so expensive to pay for my own bandwidth. Then YouTube came along. So that's the reason I'm mentioning the fact that we are radio/television. Because I would do select presentations, maybe 10, 20 minutes at a time out of a 3-hour show where I would say, okay, get ready. I'll have it up on InfoWars. We're going to live stream this or we're going to post this video. And then I would get giant bills. But that's what made me start pushing to make more money and sell films and DVDs and books and videos and T-shirts was so I could pay for the bandwidth. Then along came YouTube, along came all that, so we didn't have to pay for the bandwidth anymore, and we could reach hundreds of millions and billions. Now they realize that you've done that, I've done that, they're shutting it off, but we've built our own system at Infowars.com/show and News Wars as well. So bookmark that because they are really trying to block us. And speaking of that, I've got a stack of news here with massive censorship we're going to get into. After stock disaster, Facebook still worth more than Coke, Pepsi, McDonald's combined. Lawmakers zero in on Zuckerberg. And as I said on Sunday, and as I said on Monday, this is going to hurt Facebook because when the left acted like this analytics company that works for hundreds of campaigns around the world, piratical, mercenary, seedy, when they act like it's the ultimate evil to harvest millions of names that are open source and then contact them for political purposes, Facebook is orders of magnitude more sophisticated than this. So the media is trying to hurt Trump and trying to make sure conservatives and libertarians and nationalists and populists don't have access to databases that are public. And in that, you're bringing down the whole golden goose, morons. And that's fine with me because we don't data mine. We just direct contact people by email if you sign up at, our newsletter at Infowars.com/newsletter. And we've got our articles on Infowars. And if you want to share them, please do. And we put videos out. We do very limited advertising as well. And all of ours is very, very ethical. We just target conservative and libertarian news sites with some of the supplement ads and ads for the show. But just to watch the left eat its own and eat its tail like the old snake eating its tail is comical. I mean, they just lost 40-something billion and got totally discredited, and now everybody's looking at what they do, because if you're going to go after the company in England for stealing maybe a lollipop, while Zuckerberg is gang raping everybody's privacy and selling it to whoever will take it, again, it's a house of cards. You morons pulled a card out of a house of cards. You just never think a few steps ahead. And now the left is piling on with all these lawsuits so Facebook will censor conservatives, and it's having the short-term effect, massive censorship, massive dial-down of our reach, massive blocking of anything Trump-related ahead of the 2018 midterms that are just imminent. So if Trump and if the libertarians and if America and if the Congress and if the state houses and if all of us don't start trust busting, and if we don't start getting involved and raising the alarm, we're all going to be censored into oblivion, and they're going to steal the midterms and start the impeachment and try to reverse the reboot of this country. So that's where we stand. And that's where we are. Now, let me tell you what's coming up. I'm going to get more into the Austin bomber suspect. I put that in a little s because it's pretty conclusive. And the police did a really great job, really moved quick for how bad this was. There'll still be some bombs out there. Somebody should still have caution. We're going to get into Biden threatening to physically attack the president again. You've got a report, former Marine charged in shooting, hit and run of controversial Seth Rich investigator. So the lawyer investigating Seth Rich is in a D.C. parking garage thinking he's doing a data pickup for information, gets shot twice in the back and run over, lives, and they're calling it a conspiracy theory if you think it's suspicious. Oh, okay. That's next level, too. And then the big story. D.C. officials flock to doomsday camps. What do they know that we don't? The story's on Infowars.com. It's links to mainstream news reporting it. We're going to be breaking that down. Stuff is really, really building up. But don't worry, Anderson Cooper, he says the claim that there's a Democratic plot to remove Trump is a massive conspiracy theory, close quote. So they're saying, the deep state's going to get you, we're going to bring you down, Mueller's going to get you. And then if people say, hey, there's a plot inside the leftist arm of the FBI to remove Trump, they go, that's ridiculous. What next you're going to say the Seth Rich investigator getting shot twice in the back and run over? Next you're going to say that's suspicious. I mean, like it's suspicious that Seth Rich got shot. It's not suspicious at all. He didn't even get shot, actually. Fine, I'll be mainstream news. Seth Rich doesn't even exist. Abracadabra. Oh, by the way, Samsung now has a new program that reportedly erases your memories. That's on Infowars.com. It erases your memories so you can watch the same show again. Now, whether that works or not, we're talking mind control areas we're getting into here. So it is just a total overwhelming amount of intel. Flashback, not even Nazi Germany charged Finnish man who had a Hitler dog and had it Heil Hitler. But in the UK, if you're anti-Hitler but make a Hitler joke, you're facing, it's 1 year in prison, I'm sorry. It was 6 months is the minimum. Count Dankula, he's facing, that's his handle. He's facing it. Hey, his name is offensive to vampires. Maybe that's another year in prison. This is really happening. This is real tyranny attempting to take over. We're in the middle of a global war for liberty. It's happening, and InfoWars is the front line. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Thank you so much for joining us. We are now 20 minutes into this global transmission, Wednesday, the 21st day of March, 2018. Dr. Grip will be in studio coming up at the bottom of the next hour to cover massive new eugenics developments, world government announcements, just really critical intel. Roger Stone will be here with us to give us the latest in the fourth hour. If you just joined us, obviously the Austin bomber in the early morning hours, the main suspect, blew himself up in some type of shootout with the police. We have exclusive footage shot by one of the members of our crew out of his apartment window. And we're going to have more of that footage uploaded to Twitter, Facebook, you name it, but also our own servers. That is just minutes after the confrontation, the shootout, and the bomb that he reportedly self-detonated took his life. And, of course, we know the individual's name, Mark Anthony Condit. You can learn all the details. We have an exclusive photo of him with his family on Infowars.com, and we've tweeted it out at Real Alex Jones for anyone that would like to see that. There's only one other photo out there, and we have the other photo and the exclusive footage before the news media even got there. We're talking just seconds after our crew member, Scott, heard the gunshots and the explosion, getting to the window and videotaping it from about 150 yards away. And we are uploading that video to Twitter. They will probably block it. Even if it was paint drying, they would block it because they can't let folks know what a real news agency we are. Now, we keep breaking exclusives after exclusives after exclusives because we're not lazy and we're also geographically located to be able to cover a lot of news just on the ground. So if you look at how he looked when he went into the FedEx to mail a bomb, and they think it's him, and that he may have accomplices. He was wearing what looks like a blonde wig when he has dark brown or black hair. But he could have accomplices, and he could be a patsy. I mean, we don't know. Basically, anything is in the realm of reason. But there are mentally ill people in this world. There are deranged people with a score to settle. And I can tell you, the person bringing the package into FedEx does not look like Mark Anthony Condit, just in his build and a lot of things. And the blonde hair does look like a wig. Does have that kind of fake look, but who knows? It's too early to tell. We'll continue to watch this as it unfolds. They're now calling the devices, some of them not sophisticated but complex, but the triggering mechanism was pressure, mousetrap, that then sends a charge to the detonation device. And he reportedly worked for a computer company and dealing with devices and things, so that may be where he had the know-how. That said, hey, we need a 5-day waiting period on bombs. Oh, sorry. You can't stop anybody, even with a low IQ, from being able to build a bomb. So you can't stop somebody from getting a baseball bat at Dick's Sporting Goods and going and beating somebody's brains out. In fact, blunt objects are used to kill more people every year than firearms are in the U.S. on average. Just like knives. I can walk in and buy a whole set of knives and go out and kill 20 people if I want to with them. You'll see stabbings in China and Japan where one guy will kill 10, 15, 16 people with a knife. And I know you as listeners understand this logic, but a lot of people don't want to have these logical discussions. In fact, they're talking about restricting who can rent big trucks in Europe because the freedom barriers being put up around public places aren't stopping the Islamists from just driving a mile down the road and getting around the barrier. So, you can't stop evil people by restricting everybody. You have to go after evil people. And the answer is good guys with guns. In fact, I did a report on it yesterday. I think I left the articles in my office or in that podcast studio because I shot a video with Duve. Somebody can pull me the name of the good cop in Maryland who within 1 minute responded to a school shooter who was able to shoot 2 people but wasn't able to kill them. And the cop responded in 60 seconds. Maryland, school shooting killed by deputy in 60 seconds versus Florida stand down. Hero in Maryland, school shooting, none other than good guy with a gun. And we've got his name and all that information there on the site. So we have Great Mills High School, Maryland, where the shooting took place, where, again, somebody not in the school anymore came back to try to kill his girlfriend and others, shot her, shot the boyfriend, and was reportedly going to continue shooting people when Deputy Blaine Gaskill killed him. And of course, he's on the SWAT team, so instead you've got the guy in Florida saying he didn't do anything wrong, Scott Peterson standing down, a bunch of other deputies standing down, being political. This is the guy that trained people in the school for school emergencies. And he stood there. I mean, just make sure whoever wants to be there actually wants to protect people. Because most police, most general citizens aren't looking to die, but somebody's trying to kill young people, kids. I mean, the instinct is you're gonna kill them. You're gonna charge them. I mean, most people I know wouldn't even try to take cover. They just start killing if they catch somebody trying to kill kids. I mean, how are they breeding the instinct to fight out of us? I just don't understand it. So, but that's what the globalists want. They want us to roll over to everything and live in their gun-free zones where all the crime takes place. Mexico, one of the highest crime rates in the world behind Brazil. Total gun bans. Brazil's set to pass a Second Amendment. The guy in the lead to be president is going to do it. And you know what? They get guns in the culture there. They get them in the hands of the people. You will see the crime rate plummet. It's happened in so many cities, so many towns. So that's an amazing piece of news. Now, we're going to go to break. I'm going to come back with the huge attacks on free speech, the latest North Korea news, the really big news. D.C. officials flock to doomsday camps. What does that mean for the rest of us? Told you that was going on. They're getting ready for martial law. And it's leftists doing it. We've analyzed who's doing it. The left is gearing up for war while openly calling for it. And former Marine charged in shooting, hit and run of controversial Seth Rich investigator. Shot twice in the back. He still tried to run over him, got away with his dog in his arms. That's coming up, but nothing suspicious about that. There's another person shot in the back. I mean, I wonder if this guy keeps quiet. I think he is being sued, isn't he? He's being sued right now along with Fox News for questioning, so I guess bullets didn't shut him up. He's a pretty tough guy. We'll tell you about him in a minute coming up. Here's the deal. We got a limited supply of the newest product. My dad, a retired old surgeon and dentist, well, he's retiring this year. He's giving up his license. I don't know why that matters. The point is my dad came up with the top toothpaste company that does organic, empowered with iodine, colloidal silver. It's a bestseller. So he said, Immune Gargle is great because you can swallow it, you can spray it in your mouth. It's concentrated. There's $3 of product in here. That's a lot. It's $9.95. And Immune Gargle is amazing. It's got iodine. It's got colloidal silver. It's got a special type of silver in it that's really souped up. It's amazing, but it's also good for topical stuff. Tastes good. It's got the peppermint in it and so much more. So get your Immune Gargle. Turns out it's going to sell out like in just 4 or 5 days at the current rate, and it's discounted with lung cleanse as well. It's really amazing. InfoWarsLive.com. My problem is not enough news. My problem is just too much news. I got my video list right here. I want to get into the government, the left openly training for doomsday and just martial law, Viggo Mortensen's road level collapse. Because they're willing to do that rather than let us have the country and be free market. They want control. If they got to make it like North Korea, if they got to collapse it like Venezuela, if it's got to be a hellhole like Cuba, they will do it because they want total control. D.C. officials flock to doomsday camps. What do they know that we don't know? I first told folks 9 years ago that most of the big Hollywood producers were evacuating to New Zealand or Tasmania. Some now to Kauai. And now it's all over the news. I was attacked. Oh, Jones is crazy. He claims that Cameron and all these people are going, there because they're preparing for doomsday. That's because I was talking to people in Hollywood that worked directly for James Cameron. I had dinner with someone that worked for James Cameron. I'm like, how you doing? I hadn't seen you in a few years. Well, I'm not doing too good. Cameron doesn't even think there's a future, and most of these other billionaires he knows in tech are saying there's this big event coming, and everyone's evacuating to New Zealand. And I came on there and I warned you, man. And now it's all admitted. And then people that aren't billionaires, they're moving to Montana and Wyoming. I know a bunch of prominent Texas families that are evacuating Texas. Just evacuating, and they just say, word is, can't save the country. So remember this, leftist, all of you crazy people that want to burn it all down, you Antifa meth heads and all of you. If Trump can't stabilize the country, and if we don't make alliances and peace deals, and the world economy keeps going in this direction with population and all the crises and all the countries that have bioweapons, there's going to be a big world war, and there's going to be worldwide depression. And a lot of you aren't going to make it out of it. Because let me tell you, the left just wants to destabilize the country. They want the collapse to come. That's the evil globalist arm. I've got total chills. I don't know if you can zoom in with the camera, but I've got the hair standing up even on my chin right now. I've got goosebumps on my face. I've never had that because I'm saying the truth right now. And my subconscious mind is going, yes, that's what you're supposed to be doing. You are supposed to be doing this. I mean, I'm like on electric fire right now because this is what I'm supposed to do. And I don't want to get up here and fearmonger, folks, but this is going on. And I'm begging the crazy left, the brainwashed folks, you're victims. Zuckerberg's own documents admit they created the mind control. They put you in this position to, by successive approximation, make you more and more aggressive, more and more angry, more and more mentally ill, more and more wanting to ban words and ban freedom and ban speech and ban assembly and ban free market as you run around with smartphones living in the lap of luxury. You're being set up to bring the country down. It's a scientific plan. And it's very, very sophisticated. It's 30, 40 years advanced in even what most people know. And that's why I get so frustrated when I hear people go, oh, look at this analytics company in England. It got names of millions of people off public data mining, and the Republicans used it. Trump used it to contact people. Bannon used it. Oh, my gosh, it's so sophisticated. Ban conservatives and nationalists worldwide and populists from access to public data mining. There are thousands of prominent companies in the U.S., tens of thousands worldwide, and Cambridge Analytica, I'd say, is in the top of corporations, maybe 200. I mean, I've looked it up. It's in the top couple hundred. It's a big one. But compared to Apple, Facebook, Twitter, Google, the NSA, the CIA, Defense Intelligence, Samsung, Amazon, they're all in a giant race for AI that's hooked into everything. And then they believe there's going to be a huge corporate AI war that'll be economic to see what system takes over the planet. And they believe when it finally hits total consciousness and connectivity, it might take over in hours. Just a few days of stock trading and one company is able to buy it all up. And nobody cares because the stock market's at 100,000. And then suddenly there's AI, robot-run factories rolling out where everybody can have 20 smartphones a month and, you know, live in a nice house and do whatever you want. But you see, the decision's been made to not let you have all that. They can already, within just a decade, no one will have to work anymore. But the decision was made, and Bill Joy wrote about this, the Unabomber wrote about this, and he was involved in the CIA, high levels of academia, at the leftist levels of planning this. He kind of flipped out and went rogue because it was so scary. He just wanted to destroy civilization instead of letting it get to the whole AI merger. So, I mean, let me tell you, I don't know if this plan's going to work, but we're on rails like a train, and we're going to a really bad place. Toot, toot. All aboard. No, I think we ought to stop the train and have a discussion with everybody and be honest about what's going on. But you see, they look at the slob-like public and go, they don't deserve to live to 500 years old. And if you can live that long, we'll have life extension that'll be unlimited. If you can extend life 50 years, then you might as well extend 1,000. And the decision's been made that you don't get access to it because you like to watch football. You like to act cool. I do too as well. And we're just kind of down here. And then it's been decided there's 7.5 million of us and we need to be cold. And so that's where you're at. All right, I'm going to go to break, I promise, and come back. I just started getting into this whole D.C. officials flock to doomsday camps. Biden putting out the word, I'd beat up Trump. Second time he's done that. Got this congressman, Swoozy, saying, you know, we need to use the Second Amendment on him. Another congressman saying it's time to overthrow him. That's all in 3 days. They're saying kill, 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 attack, 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 attack. And with the anchors all pleased and smiling about it. While the real money is, you know, up in the mountains with helicopter bases. And by the way, I don't think those really rich guys are stupid and don't think they want security contractors around when everything collapses. Those guys will all be given fruit punch. And then they've got little weapons pods that just look like gray transformer boxes. And they just unfold and up come the guns and got a computer inside, solid state controlling it. And so the billionaires are up in mountains and redoubts around the world with robot guns and robot drones and jump helicopters and all sorts of amazing jet copters. And they've got their own satellites and their own on-staff medical facilities. They're dug in and ready for the AI war. But all the left wants to do is go hit a conservative in the head with a bike lock and count their coup. Become a man. Make sure a teacher can't teach the First Amendment in California or she gets suspended. That's coming up. Make sure you don't investigate Seth Rich or we'll sue you. Oh, if an investigator doesn't stop, how's 2 bullets in your back, buddy? Hadn't got to that yet. Yeah, get shot, hardly even in the news. Got shot a couple days ago, and I didn't even learn about it. Because, hey, what's the Seth Rich investigator getting blasted in the back? The top guy. Yeah. He was also investigating Hillary and Russia ties and was at a pickup to pick up documents, and blam, blam. Think he's getting close? That's coming up straight ahead. Infowars.com. We are the resistance because we just want a future. We just love humanity. We just want to survive. Well, we're looking into the identity of the main bombing suspect who died in a shootout with the police last night and reportedly detonated a bomb to get rid of himself, Mark Anthony Condit. And we are looking on different sites, going back to the archives to confirm that these are not news sites posing as whole sites. And we're looking into his politics right now. And we have some very interesting information, but I'm not ready to confirm this yet. So look for that coming up in the next 20, 30 minutes. We are digging into that like busy beavers right now. I'm going to get into doomsday camps at the start of the next hour and tie it in to all the preparations for civil war and the left and what they're up to. And I want to get into the attacks on free speech. Flashback, not even Nazi Germany charged Finnish man, when they were occupying Finland, over Hitler dog. The man didn't like Hitler, had the dog howling Hitler as like an insult, making it a joke because the Nazis took themselves real seriously. And then now Count Dankula, who would just do funny jokes and memes, very successful, by the way, was his main living, had the pug howl Hitler. And he said, I don't like Hitler, so, you know, this is something that'll freak my girlfriend out. It didn't matter if he liked Hitler. It's his free speech. Well, he's facing now a year in prison. YouTuber Count Dankula, who taught his dog Nazi salute, faces jail time for hate crime. Look, Newsweek reports it like it's a good thing. Isn't that incredible? The video, he said, I don't like Hitler. So I think it's a terrible thing for the dog to do as like a sick joke. But that's his right. And quite frankly, my French Bulldog captain died last year, and I've shot videos that are on YouTube with the dog, and he looked like he had a mustache because he didn't have hair on his front of his nose. He had white hair, but it was black right here, so he looked like Hitler. And one time I'm sitting there, and one of my buddies goes, you know, your dog looks like Hitler. Yeah, there's the late, great captain. What a sweetheart. I'm going to kiss him. Not Hitler, the dog. And my little sweetheart, he died in my arms. Got an embolism. Very, very sad. Blood everywhere. But I was meant to the teapot looks like Hitler. JCPenney banned that. Really didn't, but mental patients would think that. So people thought the dog might look like Hitler. So should the dog be executed? Well, there's video out there with me holding up the dog's arm saying, you know, oh, Sieg Heil, because it's funny. Just like John Cleese did a Hitler deal or Charlie Chaplin. What changed? We got hardcore authoritarians in this country. Now, when the left wants to go around doing stuff like this, that's fine and dandy. And all the raunchy comics, everything, they can do whatever they want. And that's actually Cozy, his sister, that's still living. But when the crew tweeted that out, so they said, I'm going to eat Captain Fantastic for dinner. That was just last year. We put that back up on screen. But that's Cozy right there. That's my house. Sweet little Cozy. She's a good girl. Anyways, she kind of looks like Hitler, too. I don't think she's racist. I think she's a dog. But that is the lunacy of this. But meanwhile, Joe Biden can come around a few years ago and again this year. Like, let's play the first clip from 2016. We'll play the new clip at a commencement speech. Biden says he would have had beat the hell out of Trump in high school for disrespecting women. And then we're going to play some creepy Joe Biden videos because there's video of then Senator Sessions slapping his hand away from a 5-year-old girl. Biden kisses them on the ear, rubs their necks, rubs their backs. It's really creepy. It's really, 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 really creepy. The way he does it is obviously sexual. And he just gloms onto them, and it's disgusting. And he does it to women, too. Yeah, here's some of the footage. This isn't even the powerful ones. But meanwhile, Joe Biden says that Trump having consensual sexual relations with, 30-year-old women. They admit consensual, treats them with total respect. That he wants to kick his butt for. Knowing legally he can try to say, oh, a long time ago if he treated girls in school like this, I'd kick his butt. Implying he's this big tough guy and implying, again, that Trump is actually abusing people when it's Hillary and Bill Clinton that are famous for abuse, when it's Joe Biden and all his weird history. We always show the Joe Biden creepy stuff. Dude's got the bombshell. Well, what we're showing is nothing. I want to add and post, when we put this out, his creepy, the one where he's slapping the hands away from the kids and grabbing on the kids and whispering in their ears. There's a bunch of HD video. So I want to can the footage we have in that computer because I'm not mad at the crew. It's crap. We have got HD, him rubbing their bellies, rubbing under their arms, rubbing their backs. I want the powerful footage. In the name of the truth. Anyways, it's amazing. So we've got all that happening. And then meanwhile, it's time to regulate the internet. Oh, yes, that's out of the Atlantic Monthly. California high school teacher put on leave after asking whether school should allow students to walk out to protest abortion. You can't walk out for pro-gun. They ban you sitting in the principal's office. You can't walk out, I guess, if you're pro-life. Don't ask the school if you can. Do it at schools that have allowed anti-gun. Then they're going to violate your rights, and you'll be able to sue them and win and teach the left a lesson. It's time to get litigious with them when we're within our rights. So, here is Joe Biden running his mouth. Remember, we had the congressman over the weekend say, use the Second Amendment. The congressman from New York from the 3rd District. Swoozy. Swoozy on power. Drunk on power. Little swoozy. Little tipsy. And you got the other congressman saying, we're going to take him out. And you got all the other, that's just this week. The violent organization of this. So here's Joe Biden putting out the orders of the troops, putting out the idea, let's get violent. Let's kick some butts. Here it is.
The press always asks me, don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish.
Okay, so that's Biden running his mouth. Here's the newest clip from yesterday.
When a guy who ended up becoming our national leader said, I can grab a woman anywhere and she likes it, and then said, I made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. They asked me, would I like to debate this gentleman? I said, no. I said, if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, let's beat people up. Let's teach people violence. Trump has done nothing. Trump has never been convicted of a crime. Most of these women, it turns out, it's totally made up. We didn't hire Trump to be Mr. Goody Two-Shoes. He's a little bit of a Pepe Le Pew. At least he was years ago. But if he was raping women in the back of a car like Weinstein, that'd be fine. If he was a pedophile, that'd be okay. No. But they act like it's abusing women. And there's this new thing where they call it toxic masculinity, taking your shirt off at the beach in movies. they're now having women go, put your shirt on if a guy's mowing the yard or at the beach. And they're selling that idea that men with their shirts off are bad. So see, the left's all have sex with whoever you want, do this, be violent, you know, all these crazy things. But then everybody else, oh, you all, your speech, if men sit down and kind of open their knees up a little bit, which women do as well, then that's some type of dominance and a microaggression. This is an excuse for these bullies to get in our business and try to tell us how to live our lives, and it's time to reject them because they're here now trying to arrest everybody for our speech. They're a bunch of bullying scum. Okay, I'm going to be very judicious when I start the second hour. I'm going to drill in to the Seth Rich, top investigator, shot twice in the back and then run over by a car. Can't make that up. And almost no news coverage of it. We're going to get into the latest on the emergency doomsday centers that I have not covered yet. I've just mentioned. More exclusive info coming out here in Austin on the bombing situation and the death of the reported bomber and more. Stay with us. Second hour coming up. You're listening on local stations. Please spread the word. If you're watching on like Channel 9, mainline cable, our own TV station in Houston on Phonoscope, please spread the word about that. So much going on. So many exciting things happening. In fact, I forgot that piece of paper I had that he gave me. I was going to plug Phonoscope. They used to cover us a few hours a day. We're 24 hours a day in Houston on Channel 9. I mean, the main channel, right between Fox News and CNN. And it's happening everywhere. The Streisand effect took place. I wonder if they'll resort to bullets in my back. Well, I'm going to go on to the end, whatever the course may be. We shall fight and we shall never surrender. Now, we need your financial support. InfoWarsStore.com. We have a lot of products back in stock, a lot of products that are going out of stock, and a lot of specials that are about to end, including a bunch of items that are 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com and so much more. InfoWarsStore.com. Your support is critical. Well, InfoWars goes where the information leads us. The left will make stuff up to blame their political enemies. They'll take someone that's committed a crime and then say that anybody in that political or cultural class is to blame. We only do that when radical Islam itself says, we're going to go kill the infidels, we're going to kill the defilers, we're going to overthrow them, we're going to have sex with their 9-year-old women, blah, blah, blah. That said, we had this info 30, 40 minutes ago. We were vetting it. We're not 100% sure of this, but Raw Story has gone with it. Accused Austin bomber kept a blog where he outlined conservative views. Now, this was in 2012. So we're talking 5.5, 6 years ago. He says, my name is Mark Condit. I enjoy cycling, tennis, reading, listening to music. I am not that politically inclined. I view myself as a conservative. Well, who knows what he is 6 years later, 5 years later. But I don't think I have enough information to defend my stance as well as it should be defended. The reason I am taking the class is because I want to understand the U.S. government, and I hope that it will help me clarify my stance and then defend it. So, is he going to end up being an anti-abortion person that was like going to bomb a circle around Austin saying it's the blue state inside Texas and we've got to fight back against it? Who knows? I'm just trying to project out the lines of a possibility. I'm not saying that. I am simply speculating like everybody else is doing. And then you've got other students and other blogs listed here that list Ron Paul, 2012, and all the rest of it. But that's another example of how they do a lot of these school assignments now online. So stuff you've been writing maybe 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago in the future is going to be there and accessible. And he talked about why gay marriage should be illegal, my view on free abortions, why we might want to consider doing away with sex offender registration, an argument for the death penalty, the release of a terrorist, an option, internet privacy has not been reduced. So this is reportedly what he wrote, and the Internet Archive and Wayback Machines say that this indeed is from 2012. So we'll see. Now, the point is, if Raw Story ends up being wrong about this, They went with their best information. They reported it. And then they shouldn't get sued by somebody or somebody else's family if the name's the same or they got something wrong, because there's not the intent to do harm. What the Democrats are doing to me is that. But then it's not even stuff I even said. They lie about what I've said and then just sue me for a whole PR deal. Now, the good news is we can beat these. The bad news is it'll take some money to beat them. But it's just crazy that Fox News is being sued for investigating Seth Rich's mysterious murder. And now the guy who's been heading that up, who's getting sued himself, gets shot twice in the back and run over. And it's not even, it's like one little blurb in the Washington Post in a Daily Caller article, dailycaller.com. We have it up on Infowars.com. It's just wild. So I promise I'm going right to that when we come back from break. But Mark Anthony Condit, this photo of him is from high school in 2013, I guess when he was a sophomore. Then we have another photo of him with his family from a similar time that we got exclusively. We can also put on screen. So maybe that's why he looks so much different, if that is him delivering the bombs to a FedEx mailing center. But we will continue to track that. We don't know if his views changed. Young people's views change a lot. But I think it just comes to unstable people, folks. Can get guns, they can get bombs, they can be leftists, they can be rightists, they can be Muslim, they can be Christian. The point is you can't restrict the entire culture because they're bad people. That's why we have rights, is to defend ourselves. We'll be back. Dr. Group's got big, important news on globalist plans for world government, globalist plans to reduce population, eugenics. He'll be in studio, riding shotgun, taking your phone calls, coming up at the bottom of the hour, interspersed with breaking news and information as it unfolds. Now, this story with the whole climate of Joe Biden saying he wants to physically attack Trump, Congressman Swoozy of New York telling constituents they need to use the Second Amendment to take Trump out, all the other hashtag hunt Republicans. It's three different congressmen, a vice president, you name it, this week saying take out the president, shoot the president, we've got to get rid of the president. They are just running around trying to get their constituents to get violent. Well, if I tell people to go kill people and then they do it, I'm just as guilty. So this is next level. Well, they all say we're bullies and want conservative and libertarian and Christian speech taken off the internet, and it's happening. Now, another thing being used is lawsuits to just intimidate people, slap suits, just to make you shut up. Well, they're slapped back. And they keep suing me in states that have slapped back. And they're doing it to everybody else who's good. Now, let's get to the big news right now. I mentioned this, but I want to read this article now. TheDailyCaller.com. This is also in the Washington Post, but just a footnote, like it's no big deal. Former Marine charged in shooting hit and run of controversial Seth Rich investigator. Because the media has made it controversial to investigate an unsolved murder that reportedly has major political ramifications, and WikiLeaks has come out, Julian Assange, and said, we don't give away sources, but yes, you should look at him as a source. We are offering a reward for his murderer or murderers being discovered. And what happened to Seth Rich? Shot multiple times in the back. Nothing taken. The family came out. I saw him on the news, held up pictures, said, we want to find out who killed our son. You pull up the article from this week. Headline, Fox News, Alex Jones sued. New York Daily News. It's a photo of her with the reward that she's handing out. The reward flyers. And so people start investigating this. People start looking into this, and then they get sued. And investigators you see on TV that the family says they're working with and that they say, say they're finding evidence of DNC connections, then suddenly those people change their stories. Then suddenly anybody questioning it still is a conspiracy theorist and, quote, needs to be shut down. Because that's how they dehumanize you. Is they say, Fox News and Alex Jones sued for conspiracy theories. Well, no, Seth Rich got shot in the back multiple times, nothing got taken. And there's evidence of Debbie Wasserman Schultz and missing laptops and the Awan brothers and Pakistan and her threatening the police. You better not keep those laptops. There is major stuff going on. Pull up the headline for me, please. New York Daily News, a couple days ago, Alex Jones, Fox News sued. Just boom. Click News, comes up. I want to show people that because it illustrates, there she is saying, reward for my murdered son. People investigate it. He works for the DNC. He works for the Clintons, famous for their death trail. The family offers a $25,000 reward. Other people do, including a prominent lawyer, lobbyist, investigative journalist type guy who gets a lot of big news. He gets shot in the back, run over, and it's not even a news item. And that's the news story I'm going to get to now. Former Marine charged in shooting, hit and run of controversial Seth Rich investigator. A former Marine who claims to have worked as a special agent with the Department of Energy has been charged with shooting and running over Republican lobbyist Jack Berkman, who conducted a controversial investigation of former DNC staffer Seth Rich's murder. Kevin Doherty, 46, was charged Monday with use of a firearm and the commission of a felony, 2 counts of malicious wounding, according to a press release from the Arlington, Virginia County Police Department. Folks, I didn't even know this happened. There's such a news blackout. This happened on the 13th. The Washington Post provided more details about the attack, which again should have been top news story. Top investigator of Seth Rich gets shot in the back repeatedly by a Marine from the Department of Energy. The Washington Post provided more details about the attack, which was the second to befall Berkman. That's right. Oh, I forgot when I mentioned that somebody was in his house and attacked him. I mean, this is a James Bond movie. Over the past several months, an unidentified assailant attacked Berkman with pepper spray at his home in January. Yeah, that was the warning. We can get in your house and spray you right in the face with pepper spray in your house. Next, it's bullets. Berkman, who was shot and run over March 13th at the Roslyn Marriott Hotel parking garage, Berkman was there to retrieve what he thought was documents from an FBI whistleblower. Oh, you think you're meeting with an FBI whistleblower? You're getting bullets in your back. There's no reason for this to go on unless they want something covered up. Bullets in Seth Rich's back. Bullets in Berkman's back. Car running him over. The guy's obviously tough as nails. He lived. Here's where it gets crazy. When you're running one of these investigations, the groups then try to infiltrate you. That's step number 1. Doherty worked for Berkman on the Rich investigation until July 2017. Rich, a data analyst at the DNC, was murdered in Washington, D.C. on July 10, 2016 under mysterious circumstances. Doherty was an investigator on Berkman's profiling project, the group he formed to solve Rich's case. Rich's death was initially described as a robbery gone wrong. But conspiracy theorists, people that question, speculated he was killed due to involvement in stealing DNC emails eventually released through WikiLeaks. Well, I guess if Berkman would have died on the scene, we would have heard he was robbed as well. Oh, but sorry, he wasn't. Sorry, he lived. Oh, sorry. There is no evidence Rich was involved in handling DNC emails, so they don't want to get sued. No, we're not saying there's evidence, just WikiLeaks saying he may be the person. But we're allowed to ask. Berkman began working pro bono for Rich's family in 2016. He's come under heavy criticism for circulating unfounded theories about Rich's death. So everybody says that so they don't get sued, including the Russian government was behind the killing. Berkman later claimed evidence suggesting a serial killer murdered Rich. Rich's family members have since distanced themselves from Berkman. Berkman fired Doherty and sent him a cease and desist letter, he told the Post. He became somewhat angry. I just figured the matter was closed. Yeah, folks. Doherty's LinkedIn page lists him as a former Marine and former special agent with the Department of Energy's Office of Special Operations. But recently, he operated a Virginia-based maritime security company, Nexus Consulting. Numerous press releases quoted him as an expert in the field. Berkman's group touted Doherty's credentials in press releases about the Rich investigation. I mean, this thing stinks to high heaven. But we're not supposed to look at it or you get sued. We're going to go to break. We're going to come back and get into D.C. officials' flocks to doomsday camps. We're going to tie that into more. Also, you know, they've said you have to keep looking for bombs. There could be other accomplices. FedEx is being evacuated at McKinney Falls again. So we're going to continue to track that. We're right here in Austin, Texas. Hope nothing else is going on. It's up on Infowars.com. KVUE is reporting another photo from FedEx facility off McKinney Falls Parkway that was evacuated. Suspicious package reported. You can obviously, if people are on edge. We'll be back. Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, NewsWars.com. They're trying to block those sites. Spreading it by hand is critical. It was 9 years ago that I was having dinner with a Hollywood producer, and they were telling me about working with James Cameron, but that it was hard to get the projects done, dealing with holograms and all sorts of new movie theater experiences, because he wasn't even sure there was going to be a future civilization that would have things like Hollywood. And that he and other rich billionaires were setting up like an alternate government in New Zealand, but also areas like Tasmania. Another alternate site is Kauai, Hawaii. Now, you got next year's news today here. But here's the issue. Most people aren't billionaires. They don't have $100 million. They don't have any of that. And so they're moving to Montana, Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, and they are building armored redoubts. And the reason they're doing that is I then told you 6 years ago, I ran into a lady that's a billionaire, a defense contractor, and among other things. And she was leaving towards that same area of the world, putting her money in the Cook Islands, but moving to Tasmania. And she said there won't be a U.S. here in 5 to 6 years. Well, Trump came along, we stopped it, but they plan a total worldwide meltdown, civil war, mass starvation. They've prepared the human mind with all the zombie movies and zombie shows. The Marines and Army have been training for 5 years to mow down zombies. That means mass attacks, human wave attacks of starving people. That's mainstream news. Look it up. Marines and Army trained to take on zombies. That's the cover for just mowing down crowds of people. And you're like, oh, are you anti-Marine? I'm anti-globalist, putting us in a position where the Marines and Army are training for societal collapse. So here's the deal. My own instincts say I should be in Montana or something and digging in with a transmission system there and alternately going in between. Because when the hammer drops, a war could trigger it, stock market collapse. We're talking weeks till the EBT cards don't work and everything blows sky high. And I could go on for hours describing this. The globalists are then going to shoot out transformers all over the country. They're going to then foment Antifa and communists pouring out, burning down buildings, attacking police stations, so civilization breaks down. They're going to have package bombs going off just every day in every major city. We've told you this is all coming. I don't know if this is a psyop by the globalist here with some patsy they've cut out. Who knows? But I know this. Here's the article up on Infowars.com. D.C. officials flocked to doomsday camps. What do they know that we don't? Washington, D.C. government officials are flocking to doomsday camps around the country, which, of course, begs the question, what do they know that we do not? And it goes to the Washington Examiner, and, of course, I show you the New York Times, Washington Post. You know, elites prepare for doomsday. Elites dig in. Elites move to Montana. Elites move to New Zealand. Elites build private, high-altitude, long runways. Some of them are even moving to northern Canada, 500 miles from anybody. I mean, it's on. And they're there, and they're scared. because of the biotech, the bioweapons, just everything, the carrying load of the planet, not because of carbon dioxide, but other issues. So it's going on. According to the Washington Examiner, a building network of backwoods doomsday camps around the country are pulling in members from affluent areas and even Washington national security officials as threats grow of nuclear war, EMP, and it goes on from there. Dubbed the Fortitude Ranch. So that's just one article, but let me give you the real article. This is today out of Newsmax. Guess where Obama is with no fanfare and no speeches? Obama is in New Zealand for meetings, golf, but no public talks. And who's he meeting with? I wonder who. The Associated Press reports. Former President Barack Obama arrived Wednesday for a 3-day visit to New Zealand, where he'll speak with community leaders, meet the Prime Minister, and play golf. The sessions will be closed to the public and media except for an official welcome ceremony Thursday. Obama does not plan to answer questions from reporters. And then it just goes on to what he's going to be doing there, meeting with community leaders, business leaders, and the Prime Minister. And to work with the Obama Foundation. That means the Obama Foundation building him an armored fortress as an escape. And yes, I can tell you for certain that's the main escape base. We broke it 9 years ago, and I was told once I knew that, talking to some other top lawyers and top producers, some of these guys have made billions. These are some of the biggest names. And they got scared at one meeting where they thought they were being pitched to picking up a big movie. And Mark Cuban was involved, and some of it came out in the news. Mark Cuban's on the phone. Mark Cuban's on the phone while this is going on. This is a big meeting. And I brought up people going to New Zealand, and they flipped out. And when I said, hey, be safe, have a good one, that's a Texas saying, the one producer goes, are you threatening me? And totally got scared and started shaking, thinking I was in the CIA, because Hollywood's overrun with that. And I was like, these people are paranoid loons, man. I'm like, dude, I'm saying, be safe. You know, you're driving in a car. We had a good meeting. But I asked them about the meeting I'd had a few months before with the producer that works with Cameron, and you'd have thought I was a ghost. There it is. Silicon Valley super rich heads south to escape from global apocalypse. London Guardian. Oh, how many years after I told you that? I remember, I like Mark Dowse. He's a really smart guy, but he kind of memorialized. He attacked me when I first broke all this. We were kind of in a spat then, but you can look those up. You're like, Jones claims this is happening, you know. Well, I don't know. I don't claim it. It's true. So I'm saying, get the news today that you'll get in 9 years. Not just tomorrow news today. Peter Thiel gains New Zealand's leadership as tech elites preps for doomsday. Elites, 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 elites. Prep for doomsday. And what does Elon Musk tell you? He's got a place in New Zealand. He tells you the decision's been made, we'll cover it when we come back, to end humanity as we know it, bring in a world government, and exterminate you and your family on the altar of AI gods, close quote. The exact words of Endgame. E-N-D, game, G-A-M-E, end game, blueprint for global enslavement, 10 years old this year. You might want to go watch it for free. They've tried to remove it. I had to send lawsuit threats to YouTube pointing out that I own it, I own the music, I produced it all, everything, it's mine. A group connected to Soros makes claims on it. They don't want you to see it. Oh, the New Yorker, doomsday prep for the super rich. There you go. They know something you don't know. They got something planned for you, something they call love but confess. They've been a messin' where they shouldn't have been messing. The rest of the story on the other side of this break. Please spread the word.
These events, ladies and gentlemen, have become too commonplace as gun violence in this country gets worse and worse, and guns and assault weapons continue to flood our streets by the millions.
The students who are out there right now protesting, they are mourning the loss of their classmates and frankly, of their their innocence to some extent, knowing that they have to be prepared for what might be a massacre.
Fellow Americans, who is directly behind the national movement to manipulate American youth into signing away their Second Amendment rights? At this point, you can blindly throw a dart at the chaos inhabiting the United States, and it will land on an organization directly funded by one of George Soros's Open Society foundations. And under that umbrella, yet another radical left umbrella directly connected to the student walkout movement, the Tides Foundation. Women'sMarch.com organized the student walkout protest. Scrolling down to the bottom of the Women's March global website, we learn they are a project of the Tide Center, a radical left funding machine created by a name synonymous with George Soros, Drummond Pike. In 2008, Pike anonymously donated $1 million to Acorn after Dale Rathke, the brother of Acorn's founder Wade Rathke, was found to have embezzled $948,670.50 from the group and affiliated charitable organizations. Acorn had previously received funding from the Tides Foundation. A reminder, Black Lives Matter may appear to be some organic movement of African Americans fed up with the man, but it is simply a front for more Soros activity to divide and conquer. Bus fare, hotel rooms, and manufactured signs cost real money. Its two main financial supporters are Democracy Alliance and the Freedom Road Socialist Organization. Politico wrote, Democracy Alliance was created in 2005 by a handful of major donors, including billionaire financier George Soros and Taco Bell heir Rob McKay, to build a permanent infrastructure to advance liberal ideas and causes. And major donors like the Kellogg Foundation have had their trustees steer support from American values to filling the war chest of the radical left. Breitbart reported, the foundation has, for instance, donated millions to the Mexican nationalist organization La Raza, the group founded to reclaim the southwestern United States for Mexico. In 2015, the foundation gave $2,400,000 to the National Council of La Raza for general operating support. The Kellogg Foundation also has deep ties and associations with George Soros and the Clintons. Breitbart News noted that Kellogg gave $200,000 to George Soros's far-left Open Society Institute. Kellogg also gave $930,000 to Black Lives Matter and millions to the Clintons and Soros.
When I looked into the groups, the Civil Rights Unit, who's suing us, and the Voting Rights Institute at Georgetown, every member of their advisory board for Voting Rights Institute, all 12 people, were directly working with organizations that are directly funded by George Soros's Open Society. Every single one of them.
It's incredible. This guy thought he was the Messiah 30 years ago when he wrote a book. But in a way, he kind of is the Messiah of evil. I mean, he's like the devil's Messiah.
John Bound reporting for Infowars.com.
We're breaking the conditioning!
Infowars comes to mind.
Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Alex Jones.
There's a lot of controversy around this network about Alex Jones.
Google is being accused of hiding negative stories about Hillary and her campaign by changing its algorithm to bury stories like the Clinton body count story. That's according to website Infowars.
It sounds like it's confirmed there are at least 2 shooters with fully automatic weapons.
Dr. Martin Luther King has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee.
JFK was shot from the back and the front.
It was almost as if they were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
They took the babies out of incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
I think this is a national security imperative. We have clear things that we do not understand how they work, operating in areas that we can't control. UFOs.
Is this global governance that lasts? Is it one world? The central bankers in charge.
Israel claims the attack was accidental. Some former U.S. naval officers say it was on purpose. They describe the day's action as part of a continuing cover-up.
Russian intelligence compiled a dossier on Mr. Trump during visits to Moscow.
Russian scum!
Denied everything. He called it all fake news.
And he accused CNN of being fake news.
This is a national emergency.
If they kill Trump or remove Trump, it will cause a massive civil war in this country.
This is a FEMA high-level alert.
war with Russia.
Are you aware that Mr. Stone also stated publicly that he was in direct communication with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks?
The White House and the president are citing InfoWars.
If they can shut us down, you're next.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance. It's Alex Jones.
I'm coming back after this, but we got big breaking news. I went ahead and just asked the crew during the last break. I said, just go into a search engine and click the news function for what's just happening now and print Easter being banned, Christian signage being taken down, you name it. And you have to understand, this isn't like a government building puts up an Easter symbol or cross. This is Cadbury eggs taking Easter off of their advertising. This is the British government saying you can't advertise the name Jesus. This is the Australian government. This is a total, absolute assault. And I remember 15 years ago, listeners obsessing over the war on Christmas and the war on Easter. And I remember telling listeners, oh, the left's not really that bad. I mean, I know they're idiots. They want our guns. They're horrible people. But they'll never get away with it. And there's some extreme examples. But then you learn about people not being able to bring Christmas cards to school and hand them out. You have a total free speech right to do that if it's a public school. You just can't have the school say, we have an official religion. You have to follow it. You can't tell the valedictorian or the football coach or whoever that they can't, in a speech they give, say they love God or that they don't love God. I mean, if the football coach gets up at a party the week after they win the state championship and wants to say, you know, I dedicate this to Lucifer, he can do that. You'll probably get let go because people aren't going to like it. And, you know, it's not good for morale, but it's his right. Well, how many valedictorians and people and salutatorians, you hear about it every year, the lawsuits, where the schools tell them, you will lose your grade and be put back a year and have your diploma taken. I've seen this in the news thousands of times the last 20 years. A lot of times in Texas. And then they still get up and go, I want to thank my family. I want to thank my mother, my father. I want to thank my teachers. I want to thank my grandfather. I want to thank, most of all, Jesus Christ. For when I was 13 or 14, you know, having some issues and some disciplinary problems, wasn't even making A+. And I was, you know, getting some Fs. And, you know, I went to church and my pastor got me right. It's changed my life, and I owe all the glory to God. Boom, your degree is gone.
Good evening to all who are gathered on today for the commencement of Southwood Edgecombe High School 2017 graduating class. My name is Mark Wright, and I would like to be standing here as your senior class president. First and foremost, I want to thank God for making all this possible.
All right, we're going to go to break. The full report's on Infowars.com. But think about where we're at. A guy makes a Hitler joke with his dog. He's facing a year in prison, convicted in England. Here, they're telling teachers, if you have a walkout for pro-life, you know, you're fired. And you can't, in your own commencement speech or your graduation speech, say, I love Jesus. No, these are authoritarians. We got huge breaking news on the other side. Dr. Group's here. Dr. Group's here to talk about Disease X. They're saying that it could wipe out humanity. Why is the UN pushing that out of Basel, Switzerland right now? We're going to tie it into the globalist, all moving to armored underground redoubts in New Zealand, Kauai, Hawaii, Tasmania, Australia, and other areas. And how that ties into D.C. officials' flock to doomsday camps. What do they know that we don't know? And Dr. Group can't get into this on air. I've known what he's been doing for several years. There's fellowships. There are fellowships out there where you can go to elite universities and elite organizations if you get accepted to it, and different schools. We'll leave it at that. And they do this. These universities have different business leaders and others kind of where they can propagandize them. And you can also get a lot of connections. And you didn't want to get into a lot of this. You really don't want to get into it because you haven't completed it yet. But you were telling me just how this confirms so much, and the infertility, and how they're controlling the billionaires, and how they're intimidating them, and how really it is a tiny cabal at the top, about 20 people that, you know, met with the Rockefellers at Einstein University just a few years ago, Oprah Winfrey being the only black person ever allowed into it. I mean, this is a very small cabal. And you were talking about people all over the world you met with, but only a few other Texans that it was strangely enough that even understood what was going on. Pretty amazing. So I got to shut up in the next hour so we can get into your news, take some calls, because you've got quite a plate of critical information. Dr. Edward Group joining us. Good to have you here, my friend.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Yes, I have been constantly traveling, constantly doing a lot of research, constantly talking to people and looking at, you know, our job is really to educate people and to predict what's going to happen in the future. If we know the root cause and if we can kind of see what they're doing and what's going on and what to prepare for, then obviously we can take the necessary steps for prevention. And yeah, I am a part of different types of learning areas because I like to see and I like to see what's being taught. And I have been part of evaluating and researching the current school systems from preschool all the way through college educational systems. That's a whole nother subject to talk about how the history books are being changed and how people are being manipulated to believe in certain things and religion is taken out and all of these other factors, as well as not teaching people about their body, not teaching people about how to stay healthy. And you know, Alex, we've been talking about it for a long time, is how many people are really in control of the depopulation agenda, of the brainwashing agendas of society, the control, and everything from fluoride to phthalates and all of the infertility that's happening, which another topic I want to talk about today is the infertility or Operation Sterility, Operation Spermageddon, whatever you want to call it.
Which is an absolute, total admitted fact.
It is a fact, and in research I'm going to share with you guys today will confirm that, and why people really need to start thinking hard about taking care of their bodies and increasing and balancing their hormone levels. But I realized for the first time talking to these multi-billionaires and individuals and millionaires from around the world, just how far it goes with the manipulation and the mind control and the amount of information that they don't know. And I know now that there's even, we think that the attack is on the people, but I know especially your listeners and most people out there that are online and reading this information actually know more. I used to think that maybe all the millionaires and the billionaires and all those people actually knew about what was going on and they might have had protection. But I'm like 99% positive now that they don't. As a matter of fact.
Well, that's why they're getting scared. Look, the globalists, even at the highest levels, know this is super dangerous. And they're the ones all digging in. Their takeover system is a collapse, is a calamity. So now even the higher level people that aren't in command but are very high level, they are scared to death right now.
The high level command people are scared to death. But I tell you what, there's even a harder attack on the wealthy. You think that that's not the case, but it actually is. I mean, they're CNN watchers, they're New York Times, all of the media and all of the stuff that is in their environment is extremely far left. And to the
they're in bubbles.
To the point where you couldn't even mention anything as simple as maybe gluten being bad or fluoride or any chemicals or anything. I mean, they're like really
even though Harvard put out the study 5 years ago with 20+ studies that it causes brain damage, bone cancer, everything. It doesn't even matter when the universities themselves admit it, you still don't talk about it.
No, and very ingrained and on multiple pharmaceutical medications and things like that. I mean, it was pretty shocking and pretty amazing for me to actually witness that. And but moving forward into what I think is one of the things that is two things today that I'd like to talk about that I think people need to be aware of. One is the announcement from the World Health Organization about Disease X. I know you covered it and you talked about it before, but I've done a little bit more research and talked to some scientists that are involved and talked to some individuals that are privy to that. And the World Health Organization is getting ready for, this is the first time that I think that I can ever remember that the CDC or the World Health Organization has actually come out and said, prepare for an unknown disease that could be something that could be an epidemic that could wipe out millions and millions and millions of people. And I'm not saying this.
Well, the actual statement was wipe out humanity.
Yeah, wipe out humanity. There are a few different things right now that are happening, and a few different diseases that they're trying to get under control right now.
And you were also pointing out, I haven't gotten the flu in like 10 years or something. Record levels of people that don't get the flu got it.
Yes, and I was looking into that because I ended up getting it as well. Not that bad, but I ended up getting, you know, a sore throat. And people that I know in the natural health industry that have not gotten sick or not gotten the cold, not gotten the flu, and individuals that have been healthy have not gotten the flu, have all gotten it 1, 2, and possibly 3 times this year. So from talking to those individuals, from talking to the people with that are creating the link between the flu shot this year, the hexavalent, the multiple hexavalent flu shots, there are mutations happening, and maybe that's what's contributing to this mysterious disease X that the World Health Organization is predicting. But
we know vaccines are incubators for mutation.
Yes, yes, and they're using 4, 5, 6 different types of viral strains. They're using the SARS viruses. They're using the MRSA. They're using all different types of viruses, different strains of influenza, the swine flu. When you mix a swine flu virus with, let's say, different types of adenoviruses,
it allows it to jump species.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, that's what the report said. They said all the GMO, all the engineering, all the animals and humans living in close proximity, zoologically, it's all jumping. And so they're already seeing all these souped-up bacteria, souped-up viruses. We're going to go to break, come back, and talk about all this. And ladies and gentlemen, the globalists are heading for the hills. They're digging in while saying, oh, the great culling's coming. It'll be better for the earth. Before we go to break, we've got some of the great products that Dr. Group's developed, like Super Male Vitality, that is still listeners' favorite because it's cold pressed.
Super female and super male.
And that's all 25% off right now at InfoWarsStore.com. Back in stock. It takes a lot of money to fund this operation. And this is a great product. Take it under the tongue. People love it. We also have the Secret 12 that even BuzzFeed tested and said is the strongest, best vitamin B12 out there. And it was kind of a backhanded compliment. They said, this is actually the best one that the California lab tested. And Jones's is pure, but whatever. And then it was, of course, yours that we're private labeling. so it's hilarious. There you go. Yeah, they tested over 100 and found ours is the best. They just said ours is pure and good and everything, but this other one's better, not knowing it was groups. Very, very funny. So Secret 12, that's 25% off, InfoWarsLife.com. Lung Cleanse is great, a bunch of concentrated essential oils, great for your throat. We also have the new Super Blue Silver Immune Gargle Spray Bottle that has the colloidal silver and also has the iodine and more in it, and that's only $9.95. Those are together 38% off, InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139. And Myco ZX, now stronger and a lower price to flush out the mold, the yeast, the candida, all that, InfoWarsStore.com. And again, they're trying to shut us down. I'm not going to whine and complain about it. I mean, we're over the target. I want to win. I want humanity to make it. But these globalists want to try to intimidate us. They want to intimidate our American spirit, our Texas spirit. But they haven't done that to you, and you keep supporting us on our local stations. We've gotten over 20 new radio affiliates the last month. We're getting new TV stations every day. And we're talking basic channels like Channel 9 in Houston, 24 hours a day, InfoWars. This is massive. So spread the word, get around the censors, Infowars.com, Newswars.com. We'll be back with Dr. Edward Group with amazing, critical research, and we'll open the phones up. Stay with us. We're back live. If you're watching us on TV, you can see that amazing crew in there putting up with me, I got to tell you. This stuff gets to me. I get pretty stressed out, and earlier, I got into the whole globalist world government situation and how they're digging into bunkers and the elites are totally scared. And the ones that I've talked to that are awake and know what's going on are really upset and worried. And they basically say the exact same thing you were saying. There's a very small globalist cabal of agencies and scientists, and then people like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers that set up the whole world government, the UN. I mean, they're on record. It's been in the news they run the, quote, alternate world government, ABC News reports. So, and they've got the Islamicists on board, and they're building something really big and really bad. And that's why I don't want to fight with what we call libtards in people. It's fun to make fun of them, but you know what? They're dangerous. We've got to reach out. We've got to let them know they're being manipulated. So we'll cover this more in the next segment. World Government Summit to Tackle Artificial Intelligence, CNBC. We'll talk about that and tie it into, they've already decided on the future. And then you go hang out in top, let's just say, research groups with people worth $37 billion. And they're compartmentalized and scared and kept on the plantation and going into these elite groups to get their yearly download of what the new, not just political correctness is, but corporate correctness. And it's frightening.
Yeah, we have access to reports that literally show, that were done by like McKinsey and people, that show what exactly is going to happen and take place in world businesses and economies, with healthcare, with manufacturing, with everything, and what they're projecting for the next 15 or 20 years. I mean, that's the kind of information that is very, very, very few people get. But I was amazed at that you know, that they really didn't have any of the truth. They didn't have any of the truth.
And are you barred from talking about it, or why is it you don't want to talk about it?
Yeah, I had to sign a non-confidentiality agreement. Yeah, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it. You know, great people though. I mean, great people. They're just But
leftist, fearful ideology is the operating system, because they can always download the newest version. They're always raising the bar with this global social score. You're never going to be able to attain it.
Pretty much. The question I wanted to ask you was, you know, all these people that are going into these hideouts, do you think that it's because they're fearing a biological attack? Do you think that they're fearing an economic meltdown? Do you feel that they're fearing a nuclear attack? I mean,
I think it's exactly the order you said. Biological, economic, nuclear.
And let me tell you one thing that was covered probably most of the time at this meeting was the implementation.
By the way, you've been up there for a month.
I was up there for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The implementation of blockchain technology. You know, I was, you know, I've toyed around and done a little bit of research into the cryptocurrencies and all that stuff and the blockchain. But let me tell you what. One of the main things they were talking about is, if you're not looking into this, I mean, this is here to stay, the blockchain technology. And I think there's something going on that's going to happen here with our currency system. I don't know what it is, but I know that a lot of things are going to decentralized systems. I can tell you, and I saw videos with my own eyes of how the crypto tokens, this is cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Litecoin, Ethereum, different types of coins, but there's also crypto tokens, and the crypto tokens are going to be these new platforms that are coming out. For example, advertising platforms. And this is, I think this is really, really good, because these are the people that are, a lot of them behind us, and a lot of them that are aware of the truth, and they're wanting to decentralize all these things. And it's getting to the point where governments and big corporations are freaking out about it, because you have like...
Sure, that's why they had the big clampdown that just happened. Let's come back and talk about that and all these different disruptive forces as they see them, and just the fact that we are all strapped to a rocket. Okay, I mean, this is an incredible time to be alive, and they don't want you thinking. You know, so many people come up to me on the street and they say, Alex, how are you taking it, getting demonized by the globalist, having Soros-funded groups sue you, having the comedy shows almost every night lie about you and demonize you. I'm not doing this to win a popularity contest. I'm doing this to wake people up, to stop societal breakdown and collapse that the globalists are betting on. And they're betting that after that collapse happens, they're going to bring in a real authoritarian system. So I'm doing this as an information soldier for my family and for humanity. I'm an American, I'm a Texan, I'm a Christian, but in the final equation, I am rooting for civilization and humanity. When people give up on it, civilization falls. That's what's wrong in third world countries. And we are seeing major decline everywhere, but also a lot of new developments and rebirth at the same time. So it really is up to those of us that take action and get involved. Here's this article from a few weeks ago, because it ties into news today that Dr. Group, joining us here in studio, was just covering. And that's World Government Summit to Tackle Artificial Intelligence in Dubai. And then it talks about how they accept we're having a world government, we're going to merge with machines, and that humans will be made obsolete. And the article just goes through all that. Now, that's exactly the whole premise of what I've been saying for 20 years. I didn't have it figured out the first couple. I knew they were eugenicists and wanted population reduction, but I didn't get the whole that eugenics became transhumanism. And again, I'm not saying if you want to be a transhumanist that you yourself are bad. It's the directive of this transhumanist system that we see through the big universities. And then you tie that in to the billionaires, right down to the millionaires, right down to people in government service, digging in and believing not just a civil war, but total world war is coming. And we should have a debate about that. We should have a discussion because they see at the top, those directing it, this AI takeover as being very violent, very disruptive, but cleansing of humanity as if humanity's a disease. Well, our decadence, our slovenliness, our evil, people being stupid, people being lazy, people being angry. I'm certainly not perfect. Just the tension of the modern society is brain damaging us. It is making us angry. It is poisoning us. So we're going through a metamorphosis that isn't too pretty. And I liken it to space travel without gravity. If you went on a mission to Mars, you know, you would have trouble walking once you got there. Not because of its low gravity, it'd be the opposite, but because you're atrophied muscles and bones. So it's the same thing in this modern culture. We are withering. We are dying. Our brain waves are lowering. Our brain cells are dying. Our genetics are mutating. Our sperm are dying. Our eggs are mutating. We are being destroyed. And the electromagnetics and the 4G and the 5G, they know what it's doing. And it's being directed by a very small group at the top that didn't want to be identified. Now they've been identified. Their plans identified. And we need to have a discussion about this because there's one big group of globalists that aren't for total death and destruction who are warning people and saying this, like Elon Musk and many others. And then separately, you go to other elite training schools and things that the group can't get into because he signed a non-disclosure, but I'm fully aware of the programs. Everybody's aware of the programs for business people and folks that have, you know, like group been very successful and things like that can get into the group. And then, you know, you're one person might be worth only $50 million. The richest guy's worth $37 million. And you're there, and these big universities want to bring you in for these conferences, these events, these higher learning once a year to get you on board. And so I guess they kind of just let a spy of the people in. And then you see how shuttered, how dumb it is, how they're actually corralling people, but then also some optimistic and good things. You were getting into that. Let's get back into it and all these other articles you've got because this is the future. This is the big enchilada. This is what's going on.
You know, a lot of it is just you're able to talk to people from all around the world and find out what's going on in corporations, political, financial, and really, I wouldn't say I was, you know, spy, but more or less getting the information that the high-level people are getting. So I kind of, you know, feel like a speck of pepper in a pile of salt. Because you realize how awake you actually are, and you realize you can like kind of see the
what you're saying is you're getting way better info. You're seeing they're like mushrooms kept in the dark, fed crap. You're in there seeing the brainwashing just at another strata.
Well, see, one of the struggles that you don't hear about in the mainstream media that's currently going on right now with all these multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar companies is technology. Exactly what you said, AI. These companies are stuck right now because they're on these big ERP platforms. They have technology that's outdated, and technology is going so fast with AI and with automation and with blockchain and all this other stuff that they're sitting there going, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep up with this? How am I going to change all this? And corporations, the whole society is changing. So it's not a top-down approach anymore like it used to be so much. It's more like a bottom-up approach, you know, because with social media, you have these individual workers and you have to create a culture in your company and you have to take care of people. And nowadays, you know, if an employee is treated wrong or if something's not fair, then they can go on social media and they can attack you, and it's a reputation that you have to uphold. So all of these different things, and you know, coming at these companies a million miles an hour, and the fact that they're dealing with
information overload.
It's information overload. I mean, it just goes to show you that knowing the truth can be so beneficial. And I'm saying
there's nothing more valuable than knowing information. And then the globalists are threatened by information. They're always trying to keep us low information. That's why governments, intelligence agencies do listen to us. It's why they're obsessed with us, because of the guests we have on, like yourself, and knowing that whistleblower info and things that they can't control is going to get out. And larger than that, why did James Cameron and these top Hollywood billionaires start exiting to New Zealand 9-10 years ago? Because other, even richer, more powerful people told them, we believe it's untenable. Civilization cannot be saved. We're going to actually engineer its controlled collapse. And so it was a giving up on humanity, or it was the ultra-rich eugenicists getting all the other rich people who weren't pure evil to just give up and go hide while all this is coming. So that's what I'm saying. What are they going to hide from? You asked the question. You said, is it biological disease X type scenario? Is it financial collapse? Is it war? I think in that order I mean, you knew the answer before you said it. And your question was the answer.
I agree with that. And I also think that with the coming, when you have the flu shots becoming more and more and vaccines push, and you have the psychological testing on children in schools these days, mandatory psych testings, and it's open that they want every single child on some sort of psychotropic medication. They want every adult on some form of medication. And by
then their own documents say this is the brain damage and control.
This is the...
This is chemical lobotomies. This is 21st century war. You're under World War IV, globalist attack, and the word is they've already got competing AIs right now. They just need to get them all jacked into fiber optic and everything be a smart device so the AIs can see and run everything.
But you know what? You know, the more I think about it,
the AI is growing its tentacles.
Well, they're already doing experiments where they're doing half human and chips inside of with animals, and the future is part human, part computer system that they can control. And with that's everything comes into play. You know, when you look at the 5G,
they're already building the chip interfaces.
You know, what I think is going to happen, Alex, is all the people that we talk to and we know, because I know now, like all the billionaires and all these corporate owners, they're stressed out to the hilt. They're on multiple medications because they're in bed with the pharmaceutical and the big agriculture.
And they make the world so complex. All these technologies, social media make you depressed. They make things more complex. They don't make it work better for human systems. So it's meant to make us finally go, AI take over. And then when we let that take over, then we're done.
But the good news is that you're starting to see all of these young people, and you're starting to see all the people that do know the truth, that are coming out with ways to decentralize social media platforms through crypto tokens.
And so the answer is true grassroots, local innovation. What Drudge always said, get off the big casino gulag.
Look what's happening to Facebook right now. Look at all the senators want Zuckerberg to come in, and all the data that's being stolen, and all the campaigns for people to delete Facebook.
I'm just sitting here talking to Dr. Grip about personal family stuff and how it's got to be half the women I know who aren't even that old, 30, 40 years old, to have ovarian cyst. And you read about women and their thyroids being, way, way worse than men, and all the goiter and the rest of it. And just right here, WebMD. Too little iodine could harm a woman's fertility. You've got a whole stack of news about fertility's way down, sperm counts are way down. It's amazing. And I'm just sitting, wait, Dr. Grip's been on for like 45 minutes. We haven't even plugged anything. And we sit here and we talk about solutions as being awake, solutions as being involved. I work way too much. It doesn't mean I'm perfectly in health or whatever. But I know that when I do take X2, our great proprietary iodine that Dr. Grip developed, I know when I take our products, I feel better, I have more energy. Everybody loves Brain Force. It's like one of the top nootropics out there on the market now. People buy it because it's very well priced and has high quality stuff in it. That's all available at InfoWarsStore.com. I know he came on today to get into all this other news, but I want to get some into super male vitality, super female vitality, why they're so popular even on third-party sites, why it works so good for people, what it does, what the cold press does. Let's talk about iodine, and then let's tie it into all this other news we're getting. But let's kind of do some plugs here because it funds the operation. We're fighting for free speech, and it's the truth, and it's something that really, really helps people, which is a 360 win. But just briefly, I'm sure you've seen Georgetown coming after us. My lawyers said they've never seen anything like this. Totally fake suit. Peppy the Frog guy said everybody can use it, trademark free. We didn't even use it. We sold third-party poster. Lawyers say 100%, no case. But they're suing us. George Soros groups are coming after us. They're coming after Fox News. They're coming after everybody. And it's just pure bullying. So that tells me it's not going as good as they think. But when we talk about InfoWars, or the fact that even Media Matters and George Soros admits InfoWars, our audience, has radicalized Fox News. We've radicalized Congress. They say that in the lawsuit. They want to shut down because we're the progenitor, we're patient zero of what? Going, hey, look, we're right about world government. Hey, we're right about their depopulation plan. Of course, as you said, you go to these elite events I can't get into the names of because you signed a non-disclosure. You told me all about it, and I'm aware of those things. Even they're keeping the average rich person in a bubble. And the whole system is about keeping them in those bubbles. But out of Texas, it seems, and a few other areas, there's this understanding of it. And we have to understand the globalists are scared of this broadcast because we really have got their number. I mean, we really get the whole deal, folks. You get the whole deal. Our view on the world cosmology is the cutting edge 10 years ago. Everything Elon Musk says is as if I said it. No, Elon Musk didn't get this stuff from me, even though I know he's a listener. I've talked to folks that know him. We're probably going to meet sometime. The point, you know, Chris Carter, the list goes on and on. The point is that I'm reading what the globalists say in white papers. So is Musk. He's an engineer. All we're doing is telling you what they really plan to do. It's like we're reading the program of a play we go to, and we see that in the final act, the cast eats the spectators. And then they even had a little video of last night's event when they're like slitting people's throats in the stands. And I'm like, hey, you might want to read the program because it don't end nice.
They're not scared of the people knowing the truth so much. It's going to come back and bite them. What they're really scared of is people in power knowing the truth, people with money knowing the truth. That's why they spend 75% of their time making sure the millionaires and the billionaires don't find the truth. Because those are the people. Keeping
them in conferences and flying them places.
Those are the people
keeping them in bubbles.
That have the money, the power, that if they find out the truth, can create big changes in society. That's why they're so worried about you, because you've come to that level where you are telling individuals the truth. What they're not paying attention to, though, is all the millions and millions and millions of people out there that don't really have millions of dollars. But I tell you what, these people have desire, and these people have the ability to get up and march, and they have it's the people, we the people, that are the ones that create change in this world.
They massively censored Trump and nationalists everywhere already. The Democrats own, brag, we own Facebook, we run it, they're with us. Despite all that, we beat them. When you spread links, when you spread articles, when you demonstrate, when you talk to a friend, when you tell people about a local radio station, when you become a sponsor, when you buy our products, all of that is systematically moving and in a chain reaction. And I'm not bragging to brag. We're under attack because they can see InfoWars and all of our guests, the family, as like a domino effect, like V for Vendetta going out. And so that's why I know we've already sent the signal. They're attacking us to demonize other people, to scare them to not speak out. This is all about intimidation.
Well, we know their methods, and even though they're spending 75% of the time trying to keep the millionaires and billionaires in the dark, and they're spending 25% of their time trying to keep the general public in the dark through media and everything else. We know what their weapons are. There's Operation Sterility that's going on right now. And I'd put the top 10, because I just went back and looked at this. I do it about every 6 months to see what's new and what's happening. The top 10 ways that they're trying to create sterility. Number 1 is fluoride in the water. Number 2 is the antidepressants, which we talked about, getting all kids and all people on some psychotropic medication.
How draconian is that?
Number 3 is airport body scanners, the electromagnetic frequencies, the cell phones, the smart meters next to your bedroom wall on the outside of your house, and the frequencies that they're using are creating sterility and infertility. The next thing, number 4, is pesticides, the triclosan, the Roundup, the atrazine, all of that. That's a whole nother show. We've talked about it many times. Number 5 is the personal care products. Notice that all of these things people are in contact with pretty much every day. That's going to be your antibacterial soaps, sunscreen. That was a planned attack on humanity with global warming. All of the doctors were sent out memos to tell people stay away from the sun, get out of the sun. It's going to lower your vitamin D levels. Slather this chemical endocrine disrupting chemicals all over your skin. Let's mess with their hormones through that. When we were growing up, we didn't even know what sunscreen was. Now it's everywhere. I see people lathering sunscreen
and
on their
skin cancer's
kids.
up.
Exactly, exactly. Number 6 is flu shots and vaccines. Number 7 is soy and phytoestrogen compounds. Number 8 is genetically modified ingredients. Now, by the way, there's research that just came out on foods and Coca-Cola, or actually, let me just say sodas, may harm your fertility. Drinking soda and energy drinks are linked to infertility.
And of course, what you said 10 years ago and Blaylock said 20 years ago, diet soda makes you fat. Well, that's the aspartame makes you get fat, makes you stay hungry, and fries your brain, but it's toxic and addictive. Many poisons are addictive. So they're putting additives in that are grandfathered that are poisonous.
Study has linked ibuprofen to male infertility. Now, you know what? It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to attack male infertility, to make males sterile than it is women. By the way, they just announced, and maybe you can pull up the study right now, just type in male birth control pills. It's all over the news now. This is something that is going to be a controversial issue, right? Now they're getting males. So now you're going to have the all of the left saying, well, it's not fair for women to be put on birth control pills anymore. Now it's got to be a male thing.
The whole thing is how an alien force would depopulate a planet.
CNN, male birth control pill.
This is exactly how aliens would operate against us. We'll be back. We're not trying to be negative here when we bring up all these really scary things. This is what the crown princes in Saudi Arabia and what the royalty in the Netherlands and England's talking about. When you go read the conferences they have and the events they go to and what gets leaked out of the meetings, it's planetary government. And do we go ahead and exterminate everyone, or do we cull the population? What do we do? And well, the decision's been made. Don't just let people party and play around because we're headed towards a digital singularity. But we're not. We're headed towards some type of digital Armageddon, it seems. And so I'm not going to quit and not have children. A lot of globalists, don't have children because they believe the future is so bleak, but they're helping make it bleak. And so I think that's really the point we've gotten to. Dr. Group's here with us. We'll ride shotgun a little bit at the next hour with Roger Stone. I want to take your calls on the products. We hardly ever do this. People love to call in on those. Your reviews, your questions for Dr. Group. Any questions you've got about the whole global system and what's happening. Any of the news we've covered. 800-25-99231. 800-25-99231. 800-25-99231, specifically on these subjects. Wait, that's the old GCN number. See, my brain is so teleprompter free that I haven't been using that number in a couple months that I just gave out the GCN number. That's the wrong number to give. And quite frankly, Dr. Grip, that now that everything's being admitted, I don't want to say I'm depressed, but I realize the globalists are as bad as we thought. Totally lost, totally greedy, totally ruthless. The public's mesmerized. Those of us that are awake are under attack. And it's like frightening because if people would just wake up, we could have a better future for everybody. But because good sees everything as too complex, only evil control freaks want to run it. And so we're on a collision course with hell that isn't even good for the establishment, in my view. Yes, they got power, temporal power off of what they've done, but it's destroying them. Here's the number. Used to only be for the Sunday number. Now it is weekdays. Excuse me. I have one of those little brain you-know-whats. 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-2539. Questions just on, or your statements on population reduction, on globalism, on AI, on the fact that it's all out in the open. I mean, every time I think about the show, I think, I ought to go get on air and really just lay out, wow, we were right about world government. We were right about eugenics. We were right about it all. What are we going to do? But they know the public's kind of realizing that now, so let's change the subject. Let's call him fake news. Let's say Alex Jones said a bunch of things he didn't say. That is their new tactic. That's the other tactics they're using. How do you see this fight going? How do you see us winning? 877-789-2539. Dr. Group?
It's a war on truth is what it is. I mean, we evaluate the root cause of the condition. Everybody else, in the way that they are training the, students in major universities and students from the time they're in preschool up, is away from the truth. They don't want them to become free thinkers. They don't want them to search out the truth and the knowledge, just like what I'm talking about today with the sterility. And I mentioned on your show, I don't know how long it was ago, I think it was like a year ago, that watch and see in the future, sperm will be selling for millions of dollars because there's not going to be any more healthy sperm. There's going to have, there might even be a company that just has a piece of organic land or just this sealed building that they raise these guys in, that they give them organic food all day long and they test their blood levels, and maybe these sperm production facilities. I'm not saying like slavery. I mean, of course, you know, these individuals need to be healthy and they need to be.
The point is, that's where, well, they've already got gene arcs, biology arcs. They've already got cell arcs. They've already got seed arcs. And who pays for it? The Rockefellers.
No, I mean, and really, unfortunately, and I've even heard this, and you can pull it up online, is they're trying to artificially create life to where they don't even need the male human species anymore, or the female.
Well, what about this? They've already got embryos they're growing that have 2 daddies or 2 mommies, saying that's trendy. Well, a man and a woman have different chromosomes. Women have an extra chromosome. Women have a second set of DNA. I mean, as you know in the biology, the female is like the species. And so that's not a human. But see, that's transhumanism. Don't say the new thing isn't a human. That's how they set the precedent. Don't say a man with male chromosomes isn't a woman if he wants to get a pap smear of his genitals, even though they're male genitals, because they're just getting you ready to not question the humanoids.
But here's the thing, Alex. They're not going to be able to replicate the pineal gland and our consciousness and our ability, our spiritual ability to tune in. And that's what the top globalists, the people that run the country, fear the most. And if you look back at the history, yes, inside of our pineal gland, we have a tiny little crystal. You can pull up pictures of it online. They didn't find out about it until they were doing autopsies years ago, and they started taking apart and cutting open our pineal gland. And they found that there's this tiny little crystal. I don't even know if they know what it's made of, but it was very interesting to the autopsy people. So they, of course, in spirituality and through ancient India, ancient texts, that's your third eye, and that's the power. But if you think about it, how we communicate, even how we ourselves communicate, is through semiconductor. Our cell membranes are semiconductors.
Well, let's expand on that.
How
you can type this in from Journal of Nature. Birds, they now know, navigate the magnetic lines with magnetic crystal cells they have, and they found humans have them as well. So it's not just one crystal, and different people have different levels of it. And they've actually gone back now and studies, you said, in autopsies, that certain people have more of these magnetic cells in the brain.
They started looking at yoga masters that died, that were in meditation for like years and years and years, and their crystals were like 20 times bigger than other people's crystals. So we know that the more spiritual you are, the bigger your crystal.
And we know what does fluoride do? It precipitates in the pineal.
Exactly. What happens if you were to take a crystal and you were to coat that crystal? Why do you think in semiconductors the crystals have to be clear? You can't put like your fingerprint on it, right? Because then it won't communicate anymore. So each cell in our body, our cell membrane is composed.
And what do they admit? Even 2G vibrated cells and caused them to break. 30 years ago, scientists said, don't roll this out. It breaks the DNA.
So when you combine fluoride and chlorine and bromine,
which is a green crystal.
If you take a crystal and then you coat it, and then you coat it again, and you coat it again with toxic materials, and you coat it again, what have you just done? You've taken away that person's ability to have a conscious.
You've jammed it.
Or you've jammed it up. So and what that does is leads them towards the dark side, leads them towards alcohol. It makes them make the decisions of not waking up. If you notice, though, see, what we're doing is we're giving people the root cause. What I just went over with the antidepressants and the water and the GMOs and all the other stuff and the prescription medications, this is the answer. I mean, all I'm doing is just saying, hey, this is the solution. Avoid these things.
Is there any way to detoxify the pineal once it's already been coated?
Iodine. Iodine's the only thing that's been shown to detoxify the pineal. And we're finding out more and more and more stuff about iodine, and we're also seeing more attacks on iodine as well. Iodine is a crystal in itself. So
it's a purple crystal.
It's a purple crystal. And if you look at if you ever look at the chakras, the highest chakra is the purple chakra. right up at the third eye level.
And that shows how ancients didn't have all the answers, but they just knew what was working.
Well, they didn't have all of the fluoride and all that stuff anyway. They lived in nature. They ate nature. It was a perfect balance. I mean, what we've gone to is from nature science and living to man-made.
And I was about to say, notice the more technology we get, the dumber we are. And I mean, it's admitted.
That's done on purpose. I mean, look at all the kids on their iPhones and iPads all day long, every day. And
remember, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, none of them would let their children have iPads and phones. That's on record.
Yes.
Steve Jobs said, "Are you crazy? Do you think I'm crazy?"
So it's about detoxification. It's about learning the truth, understanding the truth, knowing what to look out for, and modifying your diet. I mean, this information is priceless because
you're right. We're going to break. But also think about iodine. It's not just a crystal, but it's what's that term where it's like beyond a noble gas? It
sublimates. It's actually
just like I Dream of Jeannie,
but it also goes into an air form.
It's like I Dream of Jeannie. You put it on the ground, it just goes.
Yeah, it just sublimates into the air.
And Roger Stone and my good buddy Dr. Edward Group, one of the smartest guys I know, from the Global Healing Center. You can find out more at globalhealingcenter.com. Now, I've got at least Gabriel, Ty, Matt, Stephen, Mike, Kevin, Matt, Chris, Josh. I want to get to all these callers, but then I've got huge Seth Rich news that I want to get into, and we've got other big breaking news with Roger Stone. Roger, we're going to take calls for a while. I appreciate you letting us kamikaze in on you, but what else is coming up? I know you've always got a full platter.
Well, Alex, as I mentioned to you, the heat here in the New York Bureau of InfoWars is not functioning, and many Americans don't realize how cold New York City can be at this time of year. And you could literally hang meat in this room, but we're going to be here for the Alex Jones Show, and we're excited about it.
Well, that sounds like my offices anyways. I mean, we try to keep these cold, if you notice.
It is.
Well, I like that, too, because you see, like Dick Nixon, I'm a sweater. And if it's very hard to focus on your communications when you're drenched in sweat, as Nixon learned in the 1960 debate. So I like the air conditioning turned down.
Absolutely. This is unbelievable. We're going to get into a lot of stuff with you. Let's start going to some phone calls here. Let's go ahead and talk to Ty in Austin, Texas. Wants to talk about blockchain. Go ahead.
Hey, gentlemen. Thanks for taking the call. Alex, love what you do. Dr. Group, I was pleased to hear you, even if it was just, in my opinion, a little bit of a tease, talk about your experience when you were away learning about blockchain. And I don't think people get that.
At a certain Ivy League institution.
Yeah. I don't think people get that product is coming to market this year very soon. Some of it here in the spring. Projects like Populous, AdX, Veritasium. I don't care what area you want to pick. Blockchain is about to revolutionize and change our world for the better. And Group, I would love to hear you and Max Kaiser have a talk and go into it in a little bit more depth whenever Alex feels like you guys got.
Yeah, Max Kaiser is a hard guy to get on the show. He used to always want to come on, and he'd come on from different countries he was in, and now he is a busy little beaver. And he told me some of his personal stuff. It has nothing to do with us, but he's just got a lot of stuff to manage. All right, thank you, Ty. You want to talk about blockchain?
No, I've been heavily involved in it for probably about a year and a half now. I look at ICOs. I follow it pretty closely. I invest in a lot of different crypto tokens. We're looking at ways to benefit from that, whether it's data storage technology, whether it's new like he said, AdX, platforms like that. I would suggest that people go online. There's a lot of good YouTube crypto.
Well, they're definitely trying to crush it right now, but I don't think they'll be able to crush it forever. Let's go to another one here real quick, and pop in anytime you want, Stone, there in your redoubt. I want to go to a caller in Nova Scotia, Canada. Then we'll go to another caller in Canada. We've got a bunch of callers from Canada. Let's go ahead and talk to Stephen in Canada. Go ahead.
Well, thanks, Alex. It's a pleasure talking to you guys. I'll be quick, but a couple questions, I guess, more aiming at Dr. Group. I grew up a farm boy on well water. I moved to Toronto long story short, you know, back to what you said, like babies costing money in the future. You know, in a sense, they told me, you know, my sperm count was low. Eventually, you know, they said, oh, you know, pay 10, 20 grand, you can have a kid this route, blah, blah. My wife and I just kept, you know, plugging away, so to speak, quote unquote.
Beavering away?
Ding-a-ling. And yeah, we just had eventually, you know, the strong sperm came through. You know, again, I'm just curious on what, you know, when you named your top 10, I believe you said fluoride was one, how you kind of drive at that. And then, you know, how long would you say, you know, I guess, you know, 20 years, 30 years, obviously be worse. Like, would you say it can really hit home in 2 years, 5 years of fluoride use in the brain and the system?
With everything combined, I mean, we're looking at we already are in a massive sterile population right now. People are having an extremely hard time getting pregnant, and most of the time it's the guy. We actually had a natural fertility program years ago, and it was amazing. We had people come to us from all over the world that spent $250,000 on IVF and everything, and it's very easy. I mean, it really is very simple.
Isn't it just purified water, organic, good air, exercising, getting good iodine? I mean, in mainline studies it says women and men that can't have children, the number one thing is iodine.
The number
you
one
have
thing
to
is
have it. You die without it.
But what we would do is repair the DNA and the genes and all that stuff first. So we would take them through an intestinal cleanse with oxy powder and the good probiotics. Then we would have them do 3 liver cleanses because the liver processes estrogen and helps with your hormone production.
So you got to flush that out.
Yeah, you have to do 3 liver and gallbladder cleanses. Then we would have them do a harmful organism cleanse. Then we would have them do a heavy metal and chemical cleanse. 90% of the time, they change their diet, like Alex says. They start exercising. The good news is the body wants to heal. It wants to be able to be fertile. So it heals itself very rapidly. So even if you have 20, 30 years of damage, you can repair that extremely fast.
Just like the liver can grow back.
That's the good news.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much for the call. It's a great point. I know you're a big believer in cleanses as well, Mr. Stone.
Well, I must tell you, I think the InfoWars iodine formula is pure genius. It is the best thing on the market. All the proven needs for iodine across the board, for immunity, for well-being, for strong, you know, the heart and the blood system and so on. What I really like, generally speaking, overall, as you know, about the InfoWars products is somebody has the good doctor and others have very thoughtfully fused the oldest, most proven Chinese herbology, things that we've known for centuries, the role of ginseng, the role of orange peel, the role of all these elements, and they fuse it with the most modern and technologically more knowledgeable nutraceuticals to give you a balanced formula for immunity, for example, in Immune Wall, an excellent example. And that's why I like these products. You know, I have been treated by a Chinese herbologist for 30 years. I have acupuncture treatments just for balance and prophylactically, as I have for many years. And I've used all the kind of supplements that you can buy on the market of various, usually German-made, but Chinese herbs that are marketed around the globe. And I can tell you that the InfoWars quality is actually better in your products. So
well, that's the big secret, is that we manufacture with Group and others that are top firms. We'll actually put, you know, if something's $50, there's like $25 or $20 a product in it. If something's $19, there's like $10 a product. If there's, I mean, we put a lot of product in, and these companies, other than Group, because he's the guy that taught us how to do this, are like, whoa, nobody puts this much in. Well, no, that's what we're not 7 times markup like the average company.
No, if you go to a drugstore or a grocery store or something like that, you're going to look at a nutraceutical or a dietary supplement. Most of the time, it's going to be a man-made mineral anyway, and not a natural mineral or whatever they're going to take.
Fillers.
Yeah,
you're going to get fillers. You're going to get inferior products. They put fillers in there. They put crap in there. You know, you can go to CVS. You can go to Walmart. You'll find products that say they do the same things as the InfoWars products. They'll be more expensive, but the quality of them, the ingredients will be less pure and less developed.
Well, that's what we find is crazy. He's not kidding. I mean, you know this. Most of the products has like $1 of product, and then it's all marketing.
Right.
And these companies are like, you're going to put out a sleep aid that's $19 that has $5 a product. Some of our stuff has 150, 200% markup like that. But still, you know, I was like, yeah, the average melatonin's $1 to go in here, and then everybody sells it for 19. Well, I'm going to put everything in there and then sell it for 19.
And we haven't even talked about the factor that every single manufacturer out there runs all of their finished goods through an X-ray machine to check for any type of metal fragments that might be in there from the machine. And what they also do is when all the raw materials come in, they either steam sterilize them or they put them in a big microwave radiation chamber and nuke them. And those are the 99% of the supplements.
And doesn't that then kill any cofactors, break the ring structures? So basically, it just isn't fresh anymore.
Well, it's like microwaves. I mean, most countries ban Russia banned microwaves way back when. But
speaking of Russia, we have big breaking Russia news on the other side. I'm not meaning to do this as a cliffhanger, but it's big news with Roger Stone. Your phone calls as well. We'll get into this. Maine Seth Rich investigator got shot twice in the back by a commando from the Department of Energy. But it's no big deal. No big deal. Don't investigate. Dr. Group's riding shotgun with us. We got Roger Stone up at the New York Command Center. The Daily Caller's reporting on him, and the Washington Post got almost no coverage. A week ago, the Maine investigator that was first hired by the family, worked with them, all of it, he gets shot in the back twice by a Marine from the Department of Energy, runs over him in a parking garage. He believes he's there to get a secret pickup on evidence of Hillary and the Russians. That's even in the... But this is nowhere. A little blurb in the Washington Post, a little blurb, you know, Daily Caller. I want to get Roger Stone's take on that. Speaking of Russia, getting along with Russia is a good thing. And there's hysterical news everywhere. Trump just endorsed the dictator and the fake election, which international observers say it's not a fake election. It's not like China where it's the Communist Party elects, you know, the guy to life. It's just crazy. So here's Trump responding with a tweet. I called President Putin of Russia to congratulate him on his election victory. In past, Obama called him also. The fake news media is crazed because they want me to excoriate him. They are wrong. Getting along with Russia and others is a good thing. Yes, Roger Stone, a good thing, right? They have nuclear weapons, right?
Donald J. Trump, peacemaker. Look, it's a perilous world. These people are armed to the teeth, and they have a vicious ideology, and they've already declared, essentially, their intention to bury us. This is the rebirth of communism with another label, just as brutal, just as oppressive, just as opposed to our idea of liberty and freedom. Trump has no illusions about Putin. He doesn't think he's a great guy. He's been briefed by the spooks who've told him how Putin rigged the election, which he most certainly did. It's a totalitarian single-party system. Of course he rigged the election.
We're having this debate here. It's a parliamentary system with like 9 or 10 different parties. Putin is really popular. I've read the international studies. So you and David Knight, I'm not disagreeing with you because I respect you guys, but I mean, I do disagree. I'm not saying, I'm sure you're wrong. How is it me groveling to Russia to say he won by 76%?
I guess what I'm saying, Alex, is that you're right. He certainly has his faction, and it's very large, policed by the government. But he really, what he does is he oppresses the candidates trying to run against him, throws them in jail, has their supporters, petition carriers beaten, rousting their headquarters. I mean, wiretapping them. They make it impossible.
It sounds like what Hillary did, if it's true. Well, we know Hillary did that here. So you're accusing Putin of Hillary tactics, that authoritarian. Wow.
Well, I mean, look, it was interesting because the great brouhaha that everybody tries to stir up about the WikiLeaks disclosures, as you know, is meant to distract from the incredible things we learned, like the fact that Hillary Clinton was knee-deep in the dirty tricks that were being used to bust up Donald Trump's rallies. Wasn't it Nixon who went down for dirty tricks? Now you have Hillary, you know, up to her nose. So all those other revelations that came from those incredible public disclosures roiled their campaign, and everything in it was newsworthy and authentic and correct. So we have to distract from that history of corruption and try to cheat the system and to blame the Russians. Which is
Roger, by the way, that is a sharp-looking gangster hat. Wow.
Well, I was going to say I haven't converted to Orthodox Judaism, but I do like their hat. And a rabbi in Brooklyn gave me this hat, who's a great friend. But it does have that kind of rakish Frank Nitti.
That is a good-looking hat.
Good. Well, I
notice Orthodox Jews aren't supposed to have any style, but that's really stylish.
I want to know, Roger,
it's like, oh, I'm not being stylish. This hat just looks really cool.
How many hats does Roger have? Roger, how many hats do you have?
Oh, God. See, I started collecting hats when I was very young, and I still have most of them. I used to scour thrift shops and you know, vintage clothing.
What's the name of that hat? That looks like a $500 hat.
This is a fedora, Alex. Now that should not be, for example, confused with a. There you go. No, this is a Homburg.
I don't like the Homburg. Let's go back to the other one.
All right.
The Homburg's not bad. It's like you're like a British detective or something with that. But I want to see the fedora.
He needs even more room than
the black fedora. Like increases your IQ from 150 to 200.
Then you know, I'm thinking about
that's your little communist bomber hat right there. We don't. There you are with your top hat. Ridiculous. Got your straw Florida hat. Now what is that one?
Now this is the hat that Allen Dulles wore. This is the hat that Dwight Eisenhower wore. This is a formal Homburg. And they're, you know, they're very dressy. For example,
it's a nice hat. Can we please now go back to the other one? I like it.
Yeah, see you. Oh, you go right for the gangster.
It looks slick. I don't know.
You like that? You like that gangster?
Do you have any official hats that were worn by any, like Nixon or anybody that?
Yeah. Yes, actually, I do. I have a fedora, which was once owned by Al Jolson. And his name is embossed in.
All right, we got to stop. Get back to serious issues. I didn't mean to distract us. Let's get into the big enchilada. We're going to break. Go back to calls. There you go with the pith helmet. In case you're in Brazil, hacking through the. Let's get serious. What in Hades is going on with this top investigator shot twice in the back and run over at a drop off where he thought he was getting papers with Hillary connected to the Russians? What in the world intel do you have on this? I mean, the Seth Rich thing is really getting suspicious now.
What's extraordinary, Alex, is the way the mainstream media tries to stifle any discussion of Seth Rich. This, by the way, is a Scottish battle hat. Just one of them.
Look, this is stop.
The hat.
We're going to go to break. Hold on. We're going to go to break and talk back. We got what you get doing dress up here.
We'll come back on the other side.
By the way, he was shot in the butt and in the leg, and he was bending over. He actually had his dots and his dog in his hand as well.
Well, exactly. When I say back, I mean, he was shot from the back. Yeah, it's crazy. And he runs with the dog. The guy tries to run him over twice.
Yeah.
But it's like nothing suspicious in the Department of Energy Marine. No big deal. Go away now. So we're going to come back with that, and I promise right to your calls. I promise. In fact, up next is Josh in Carolina, Chris in Virginia, Matthew in New Hampshire, Mike in Texas, and Matt and Gabriel and everybody. We're going to get to all those callers at least. Now, is that like a Robin Hood hat? It's kind of a German hat. Is that Bavarian?
This is a Bavarian hat. It's what they called the Tyrolean hat. Very popular in the United States in the late 30s.
No, I like that too. I like a Bavarian hat.
Yeah. So in any event.
But sometimes, but like light green ones look like your Robin Hood.
You know what you should do, Alex? You always come out with the T-shirts, but you should come out with your own beret with a thing right here, and so everybody can start wearing them all over the place and just have.
Well, we need something to beat these George Soros and Hillary lawsuits. So.
We call it the Rob Do hat. Actually, we have a prototype of it. Both Rob and I wear that hat. It was worn by Sir Robert Montgomery when he helped win World War II.
Turn to the side so I can see the Bavarian hat. I've got my hat, tinfoil hats. That hat gives the fedora a run for its money.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, we know what you like.
I like Jewish hats and German hats. We'll be right back. So we wear mini hats. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the playtime is over now. And I started it. It's my fault, but Roger's really smiling over here. So we're going to be back with the guy shot in the back. You know, we've been talking about censorship a lot. And the globalists are moving against our free speech. I have news here so over the top, so devastating, so insane that I'm going to get to your calls and I'm going to finish up with Roger and let him cover some of his news. And then at the end of the next segment, I'm going to cover it with Dr. Group. But the Group's here staying late because he's got to go back to Houston to take your calls. We're going to do that. But this ban on YouTube is so big, it affects us, it affects you, and this has happened to us personally. Now, and it's in Bloomberg. I'm going to cover it next segment, but we have the inside story from Spike's Tactical. They're listed in the article. All firearms, except by law enforcement and military, are to be banned off YouTube. You show it, you talk about it, unless you're Hollywood. Then you can show guns and shooting. Total discrimination. This is like banning the word that's associated with the dictator of China. So YouTube expands restrictions on videos featuring firearms and firearms accessories. Just says you will not have them, and just banned one of our big sponsors, spikestactical.com. Promo code Alex. They got the best AR-15s out there. Military, everybody agrees. They're very affordable, and they're trying to shut them down. So that's coming up next segment. Roger, this is a very serious issue. Take it off. Come on. This is going to be on the news. I really want your Seth Rich take. Come on. Stop it, please. So now he's wearing a cowboy hat. Okay, what is the name of that one, okay? Didn't you know YouTube's banned hats? You can't show any hats.
Here's the point, Alex. The reason that they did that policy was to ban a video that you and I made at a shooting range in Austin. Now, that day, I wore what you said was the biggest cowboy hat you'd ever seen, and I said, no, I actually have one that's bigger. This is it. So in any event, let's go to Seth.
What is the name of that horrible thing?
This is a Tom Mix. Tom Mix was the first cowboy, singing cowboy movie star.
I was about to say, that's a really old-fashioned cowboy hat.
Yes, very 30s Texas. It's a great look.
Well, you better be in charge when you walk around in that.
Yeah, there's no question. This is how the El Padron wore this hat in the Texas range. In any event, let's get to Seth Rich.
Yeah, no, this is really big because this is so serious. Well, you've seen the report, but recap it and give us your take.
Well, here's the most extraordinary thing, and that is a barrier in the mainstream media to anyone who wants to talk about this. This is precisely why they're cracking down on our content, because we will discuss it. And there's just too many anomalies in this case. First of all, you have Bill Binney and Ray McGuire and other respected former counterterrorism IT wizards for these agencies telling us that there's far more evidence that the material that was hacked from the DNC was not hacked at all, but downloaded to a zip drive or a
Sure, the download speed was 6 times at the time what anybody could do. He's the former head of the NSA Technical, so he is the wizard, and they've looked at it absolutely. And then you've got all the Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the missing laptops and the Awan brothers and blah, 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 and him. But now the guy investigating it gets shot twice in the back like Seth Rich and then run over by a car, lives.
But when we go out and say that, they're going to say, you see, it's another one of those Sean Hannity, Alex Jones conspiracy theories. There's a mainstream media conspiracy here not to talk about this case, despite all of the compelling facts.
I was about to say, it's sensational when the main investigator in D.C. is going to do a pickup of data, lifts up the cone where it's supposedly at, gets shot twice in the back from behind, runs with his dog, gets run over and still lives. And then the guy is a commando Marine from the Department of Energy.
What's clear from the beginning is that Seth Rich has motive. He's a progressive. He's a Bernie Sanders supporter. Although technically, as a DNC employee, he's not supposed to be sorting anybody. His heart is with Bernie. He sees the way Hillary and Deborah Wasserman are stealing anything in the building that isn't nailed down. That's his motive. He's motivated by his ideology. He sees these people cheating the movement that he belongs to politically. And that's why he gives the documents, most probably, to Assange. I base that solely on Assange's extraordinary interview where he said repeatedly when asked about Rich, our sources, I'm not saying Mr. Rich was a source or he wasn't, but our sources take their lives in their hands when they cooperate with us. He said it 3 times, and then he posted this reward or a reward for information that leads to the.
And now his mother says she's suing Fox News because she's hurt after her son died and the media coverage hurt. Well, I'm sorry. It's a public thing. He got killed. You had a reward out. Of course, it's unsolved murder. We can speculate all day.
No, but this is pivotal because you see their whole shutting you up is based on the family's request for privacy. Well, the right to privacy is very important, but it's not more important than the right to the truth. This was an assassination. This kid was murdered for political reasons because he was giving up the inside on how Hillary was robbing the nomination
Perhaps, and we have a right to say that. But now that people are getting shot in the back and there's lawsuits and everything, I mean, that adds a lot of fuel to this.
There's no question. Why does the D.C. police still have his laptops and nobody can see them, which would prove that he was in touch with WikiLeaks if he is the leaker? I have no inside knowledge.
And then you've got Schultz threatening, saying, I'll cut off D.C.'s funding if you don't give me the other laptops, and the police say no. Do we even know who has those now?
Well, the Capitol Hill police chief is actually a patriot, and he's a very feisty guy who does it by the book. And when Deborah Wasserman Schultz tried to run over him in a hearing, telling that essentially threatened him if her laptops were not returned in the entire Awan brother mess. This is another huge story that we have worked with others in the alternative media to cover that the mainstream media just doesn't seem to get on page one. These two guys are most likely Pakistani intelligence from a number of points of view, and they rob not just money, but they rob the identity and all the personal information of 130 congressmen, and then they're using it as leverage to blackmail them, essentially.
It's all on Infowars.com, Newswars.com, the video of it all. They don't want you to know. Our prayers go out to the lady's family and her, but, you know, your son's in an unsolved murder and worked for the DNC, and we have a right to look at it. Now the guy investigating, he got shot twice in the back and run over, so.
I don't understand. Why wouldn't she want more knowledge out there?
A top DNC crisis manager took over about 2 weeks after, and Roger?
Lipter, absolutely. No, that's the important thing. People need to understand the chain of events here. Rich is murdered. Rich's father says publicly he wasn't robbed. His ring, his wallet, his jewelry, all intact. And they hire an investigator. Then suddenly the investigator is fired. He's discharged. And a crisis consultant who does work for the Democratic National Committee is hired. At that point, their new strategy is to trot the family out saying, respect our privacy, ask no questions about this, you're disgusting, you're a conspiracy if you ask any reasonable question about this case. That's their whole, strategy. And we've covered it at InfoWars, but, where are some of the others who should be following this story?
All right, we're going to break. Coming back and jamming in a few final calls. Dr. Group, we'll go boom, boom, boom. I promise your calls briefly. We've got huge specials running at InfoWarsStore.com. It's an ongoing battle to fund our operation. Great supplements, great air filtration, great non-GMO heirloom seeds for the springtime coming up. Super Male Vitality and Super Female Vitality, amazing formula, 25% off the already discounted price. Then we have keep your gut in check. Don't just go after the bad bacteria, go after the bad yeast, mold, all that garbage with MycoZX Now Plus, stronger. And we've got the new Super Blue with the special Super Sol Silver, and it's got the iodine and all of that. Great to spray into your mouth. Great for topical disinfection as well.
For your hands.
For your hands, so it doesn't sterilize you like the alcohol-based stuff's known to do. Absolutely. And then we've also got the prebiotic fiber, best source prebiotic fiber from amazing sources. That is about to sell out. It's got 5-star reviews. Whatever you do, be sure and peruse InfoWarsStore.com, because without you, George Soros and Hillary Clinton and these globalists will defeat InfoWars, and then next they're going to have their way with you, and you know they want to. Imagine 10 years ago hearing that Charlie Chaplin would be arrested for making his great dictator comedy film making fun of Hitler. Well, Count Dacula, who's anti-Nazi, but if he was pro-Nazi, it's just right. In the UK, they've got the same free speech as we do, supposedly. He is facing 1 year in prison. I kept saying 6 months because the news said that. I had him on. It was yesterday. Yeah, it's 1 year. Well, now YouTube bans firearms demo videos, entering the gun control debate. Well, I mean, if gun companies want to demo their firearms, and you're going to ban that, but Hollywood can show guns being misused, this is so discriminatory. Let's go to these phone calls. Roger Stone's riding shotgun with us right now. Thank you for holding your real.
We need to ban video games then too, right? With all the guns that the kids are watching and shooting people.
Let's see, that's $100 billion a year or whatever. How big is video games in the U.S. alone? I know it's hundreds of billions worldwide, like 200 and something. Test my memory. Worldwide video game sales, 2017. Let's look it up. We won't have numbers, obviously, this year. All right, let's go to these calls. That's a great point. But that's the point. You can ban that. You can ban everything, baby. Major firearms sellers just doing demos that are mainly for the military and law enforcement. That is unprecedented. 108 billion. How much did I say? I said 100-something billion. Was I right?
I think 100-something billion, yeah.
Well, it says 108, but did I guess it right? What did I say?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I'd like to test my memory. Okay, here we go. Matthew in New Hampshire. Matthew in New Hampshire, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex, Dr. Drew, and Roger. I'd just like to say I've been listening to you guys for a long time and big fan of what you guys do. Thank you.
Well, I'm a fan of you, buddy. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So, mwah.
Well, thank you. I wanted to call in to tell you should. I think you should push your shortwave broadcast more. It's a good way to reach out to the public. Decentralized.
Yeah, we pay like $15,000 a month to go out on global transmitters, and we don't really get any money back from it, but we get letters from, kids in Africa and people in Asia and people in Latin America and missionaries and families and military that listen to it, and a lot of folks in the U.S. We should talk about it more. The money goes back to getting everything transmitted out, satellite, shortwave, you name it.
Nice. Well, if you guys could increase that, I'm sure people would be willing to.
I don't even have time to monitor it. How much does WWCR put us out? I think I'm paying to put out like 6 hours a day.
I get your show in its entirety from noon until 4 Eastern, and then they rebroadcast your show again at nighttime on another frequency, but I don't generally hear that one. But, here in the war...
No, I hear you. And, here's the deal. I can't pay for AM and FM stations, and TV stations are picking us up, but shortwave is dance with the one that brung you. WWCR, basically, we're the real voice of America. Voice of America isn't even on shortwave anymore. So I would love to put Owen and David Knight on shortwave. That's a great idea. Those are still big audiences, and it's fun. We sell shortwaves. Get one. Show your kids. Tune it in. It's basically like superpower AM radio. David Knight, you want to comment on that? I was thinking about David Knight. See, I think I'm actually having a senile moment. I was thinking about, hey, David Knight. Well, he's wearing so many damn hats, I can't tell. David Knight wears a hat like that. What do you call that type of hat?
This is called a Baker hat or a newsboy cap. For those who are just tuning in, it's about 10 degrees in this apartment where we have the InfoWars studio set up.
Did George Soros come and crap in the heating system?
Yeah, you don't have one of those space heaters?
We have probably been targeted by a liberal democratic landlord. No, I just think it's a malfunction of the boiler, but I must tell you, many people don't realize how cold New York and that part of the country gets at this time of year.
Oh, wait, you just slipped up. Didn't you tell me that it's gotten so bad you are being thrown out of your apartment?
Well, that was my old apartment. This is an undisclosed location because the streets of New York are really, unfortunately, not safe for me anymore. There's a 50-50 chance that the person coming up to you will say, tell Alex Jones I love him. I love everything you've done for Trump. I love the president. Can I have a selfie? And then the other half of the people who want to yell at you, traitor, Russian, just nonsense. And then the people who want to scream at you that you're going to jail. And then a few people who want to physically confront you. Now, when I was having dinner with my wife and my children and my grandchildren at an Italian restaurant in South Florida, two activist left-wingers came to our table and started screaming insults at us while I'm dining on a Sunday.
Hey, my middle daughter was skiing with my ex-wife in Connecticut, and a full-grown man, when they found out who she was, came over and yelled at a 10-year-old. They have no decency. Let's go to another phone call. Thank you, Matthew. Let's go to who's up next here. Oh, let me see.
Who are the ones at the bottom about the...
Yeah, let's talk to Josh in South Carolina. Thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Info Warrior Josh reporting for duty, Rebel Leader. Do you copy?
Over and out. Are you talking about David Knight here with the newsboy hat? Oh, sorry, Roger Stone, sorry.
What a fantastic birthday present. And it's no coincidence that after 15 years as a listener, you and I are now standing shoulder to shoulder battling the empire that never ended, considering we're separated at birth only by PKD's exegesis, which ended 44 years ago today.
Sounds like it's something from... I'm buying into that.
K. Dick. You know Philip K. Dick. You've been in a couple of his movies. So now
I know who PKD is. Yes, I do. I know the secrets of PKD.
This is my first time aboard the mothership, although there was a recent Alex Jones special report based on a conversation I had with Road Warrior Owen and Mr. Stone himself. And I'm not calling up to tell you all that I told you so, because the jury's still out on Tucker Carlson's feelings for you. But no one can argue any longer how his boss...
All right, well, then let me transmit back at you. Beep, 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 beep. Big silly. Like that guy, like the robot went to the transgender thing. Sorry, go ahead, Roger.
I'd like to speak to this because Tucker and Alex and I had the honor of having dinner together at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. Now, that doesn't mean Tucker agrees with Alex about everything, although he certainly agrees with him about many things, but I think he has an affectionate respect for Alex.
Oh, yeah, no,
Jones.
Tucker has come here and hung out. We've got dinner before here in Austin. And, you know,
this idea that he doesn't like you or he's been trashing you, I can just find no evidence of that.
I mean, like 10 years ago or something, he said I was freaking crazy or something because he didn't really know who I was. It had been a misrepresentation. But now...
No, far more likely somebody upstairs at Fox called downstairs and ordered him to do that because the place had odd management and they always felt beleaguered by anybody who's growing. Newsmax bothered them, InfoWars bothered them without need. We're comrades. We're soul brothers. The broader the message, the more people getting it out there.
Well, I mean, I'm not exactly. I like Sean Hannity. I like Tucker Carlson. I don't know what the caller's talking about. I don't think Tucker had to say anything negative to me.
No, I couldn't find it. So perhaps it's a miscommunication by the caller, but he did call into the war room. And
thanks, Josh. Yeah.
And I went in, but I really did research it, and I just can't find it. I know Alex and Tucker are buds.
Well, we do exchange text messages, but it's not like some star thing. Like, oh, he talks to me, I talk to him. His dad was interesting. His dad ran Voice of America. So we were just talking about Voice of America earlier. His dad used to run that. That's why it's really funny when they have congressmen on that call him a Russian agent. I mean, there's just no end to this. What type of hat is that? Is that like an English hat?
This is another version of the Hamburg, a different shade of gray, slightly different shape. But if you had any idea how cold it was in here, I knew I'd have to wear a hat, so I figured I would wear many hats just to break up the monotony.
It's very nice. We really like it.
Yeah.
But I'm getting to the point where I'm going to need gloves here shortly.
All right, let's go ahead and talk to Chris in Virginia. Chris, thanks for holding.
No problem. My question was for Dr. Group. I was wondering, looking at the big picture of things, how concerned are you with prosperity coming back to America and everything, confidence on the rise, that the globalists would pull mass biological warfare?
They're already putting souped up stuff in the flu shots.
And you're already seeing that they're starting to get their bug out places in order. I think a lot of it has to do with making sure that they have a place to go, the ones that know about it, and that they have the proper antidote.
That's it. The fact that they're all going to their bunkers and crap and really all starting to move out means the timetable's getting close.
Yes, and they're also testing a lot of things with the vaccinations. They're also, it's not quite right that they have everybody's immune system. I think this last test, when everybody in the world practically got the flu multiple times in the last 6 months, they have 3 different types of flus that people got. I think it's getting closer and closer, but the thing is, you do have the proper supplements and
to counter it. The caller, I'm glad. I apologize to Chris and Mike and Kevin and Matt. Call back. We'll go to the front of the line. Thank you, Roger Stone. War Room's coming up with Owen Shore and Roger Stone. Dr. Group, thanks for doing 4 hours with us.
Thank you.
Dr. Group, Global Healing Center. Thank you all for your support. We're in a fight of our lives, but we're in it together. It's where I want to be. God bless you. I love you, all of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, these mics are terrible. Alex Jones on lead guitar.
We now take you live to the Central Texas Command Center and the heart of the resistance. It's Alex Jones.
InfoWars Life is bringing you a breakthrough in modern medicine. Introducing Pollen Block. We have found an extraordinary new, natural way to alleviate seasonal distress symptoms, including promoting clear nasal and sinus passageways, eye comfort, and respiratory function. In the 1960s, researchers in France noticed that people who ate certain quail eggs experienced less seasonal immune and inflammatory responses. They began studying this effect in published trials, and decades later, we now have the fruit of this research, a fast-acting, chewable tablet that helps alleviate seasonal distress symptoms. Pollen Block is natural and effective. It is not an antihistamine. In fact, current research has found that it actually acts by blocking the activity of tryptase, which is an enzyme that amplifies immune and inflammatory responses in the body. Go outside and enjoy the air you breathe. Head to InfoWarsLife.com and grab a pack of our Pollen Block chewable tablets.